Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Monday, June 30th. I am 1 minute early. It is a new chapter in the Market Open because your boy is now coming on time to these shows. We are here. We are live. We are currently right now alive and live, and eventually I'll be starting 5 minutes early and tripping up everybody. But folks, we're here. The pre-markets are blistering green. We saw last night in the futures. It was pretty incredible in terms of some of the momentum that we saw today morning. A lot of that is continuing, and it is pretty incredible. Today's the last day of Q2 for 2025. Tomorrow we start Q3, and pre-markets are pretty excited. You got Robinhood, first of all, 85.23. That's up 2.6%. Palantir up 4.3. Tessie, relatively flat. Tessie's kind of one of the only names that's red in the pre-markets, but everything else is having some momentum, and I think that's mainly because we got delivery numbers coming up for Tesla next week, and the market might be a little bit afraid of that. NVIDIA hit 159 in the overnight markets yesterday, 158.43. S&P, new all-time highs, 617. You got Grab right here, 498. We really got to see if we can crack 5 today. Cracking 5 and holding 5 is going to be very important for Grab, but nice to see some of that momentum right here. Reddit's at 144. Goog's back above 180. I think her run to 200 is starting pretty soon. Google getting some love. And SoFi yesterday got to 1775. Right now, 1769. SoFi looks like it's ready to go to $20 as well. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of things that are happening. Obviously, massive Robinhood event at 11 a.m. Eastern. We will transition from the Market Open right into that Robinhood event. So you won't have to go to a different stream. If you're live on the Market Open, we will just transition into the Robinhood event that starts at 11 a.m. That's going to be a big one. That's going to be very exciting. I think there's going to be some monumental announcements from Robinhood in regards to stable coins, crypto, tokenization, etc. And all of that will be something that we have to pay attention to. Speaking of that, in terms of stable coins and crypto, we got a big announcement today. We're going to go deeper into this announcement later. I'm just going to give you the headline right now, and then after the bell, we'll actually talk about the mechanics of it because it is a bit specific in terms of how Tom Lee breaks it down. It does have to do with Tom Lee. Folks, he has been appointed the chairman of the board of directors for Bitmine, which is a Bitcoin miner. Today, they announced a $250 million private placement to implement buying a new Ethereum treasury. And BMNR, which is the public stock for Bitmine, is up 48%. And Tom Lee wrote, stablecoins have proven to be the ChatGPT of crypto, leading to rapid adoption by consumers, merchants, and financial service providers. Ethereum is the blockchain where the majority of stablecoin payments are transacted, and thus ETH should benefit from this growth. We'll listen to what he says a little bit later in terms of him explaining why this is taking place. But essentially, he's arguing that stablecoins, which are a $250 billion industry right now, eventually will become a $2 trillion industry. And Ethereum is going to be the core blockchain that benefits from it. Vlad and Robinhood likely today are going to be announcing something with Ethereum. Robinhood tweeted yesterday that they will be speaking to Vitalik, who is the creator of Ethereum, at their crypto event today. I don't know if it's going to be on the live stream or if it's going to be in like a fireside chat, and that'll be a separate video. But the point is, if Robinhood's issuing a stable coin or implementing some level of stable coin into the product announcements they put out today, it looks like they might be going with Ethereum. And as a result, if you believe in the overall stablecoin industry, and again, we'll listen to Tom Lee break this down in a little bit, then I think, that's something that should be relatively bullish. And that was a pretty big piece of news. I mean, I did not expect that today, but Tom Lee kind of putting his foot in the ground and saying, you know what? I'm trying to build essentially the micro strategy of Ethereum. And as a result, that might create some more momentum. Big Bear AI, this one is running in the pre-markets right here, up about 9%. So here's the thing about this. I am not chasing this, and I'm probably not going to be chasing this. However, I did look at the option flows this morning. The 750 call 3 weeks out is getting a massive bid. The 750 call 3 weeks out. So again, I'm not chasing this. I hope everyone who's in this makes money and you're able to do very well on this. Again, the history of this stock right here was at $2 in January, ran up to 10, came all the way back down to 2 by the end of April. Now it's at 6. Maybe it's going back to that $10 range if it wants to, but the call option flow seems relatively bullish on Big Bear AI, even though I'm not going to be chasing this or getting into it. But if you are chasing it, looks like there could be some upside if this call option volume continues to grow for this name. NVIDIA right here, 158, AMD 144, Google again, 181, and then you got Palantir right here, 136.40. Let's switch over to Tom Lee, get some of his thoughts on the market, and then later after the opening bell, we'll go back to Tom Lee as he can explain what he's doing when it comes to Ethereum.
Because we're looking at both the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ 100 all closing at new highs again on Friday. It's the best quarter for technology since the second quarter of 2020. What's happening, and how do you see this playing out?
Well, this is still the most hated V-shaped rally. And it, of course, has a lot to do with when stocks fell in a waterfall decline into April. Nobody likes to be sitting on stocks. So a lot of folks liquidated at the lows. But we know that whenever the VIX is above 60 and falls below 30, you've made a decisive low. And now visibility is better. You know, tariffs aren't as bad as we expected. And the inflation impact actually has been very muted. And actually, outside of tariffs, underlying inflation's actually much lower than people expected. And I think the Fed is, even if they're holding now, the bond market doesn't believe it. If you look at the 2-year, they think the Fed's 2 cuts behind. The 10-year is now down to 4.2, which means the Fed can be more dovish in the next 12 months, and that's a tailwind for stocks.
Can you explain how we have this big, beautiful bill, which people are saying $3.3 trillion added to our deficits and everything else, and yet you're looking at the 10-year coming down?
Yes. It shows you that markets don't view the U.S.'s debt sustainability purely as its budget, you know, because I think there's a lot of hidden value on the U.S. balance sheet, from natural resources to buildings they own to the value of gold is undervalued. And in a way, when people say the U.S. can't find buyers of its treasuries, it's actually finding it. It's going to be stable coins. Stable coins are going to replace any foreign holder of treasuries, because
Is that a temporary situation? Like once you do that to a certain level, then sort of living in its own universe?
True. It depends. I mean, stable coins are 250 billion today. You know, the total circulating supply of dollars is in the, you know, nearly 10 trillion. So stable coins can grow. A lot of stable coins transactions happen outside the U.S. So dollar dominance could actually be much higher in a stable coin world. But you know,
Right.
the main thing is it's at 4.2% the 10-year. And I think that means the bond market isn't as concerned. I mean,
Right, but we thought that the bond vigilantes were going to say, no mas, we're not doing this.
yes. I think the bond vigilantes are essentially correct. The U.S. should not be running a deficit like this. But for whatever reason, we're not at the levels yet where debt sustainability is a question.
Could that change? I mean, it's weird when these sentiment changes come. They usually come without warning.
That's right. Bond markets run on confidence. So there may be a moment where the bond market loses confidence. As long as the dollar is...
I mean, Jamie Dimon's worried about that.
Yeah, and you should pay heed to Jamie Dimon, because he has his finger on the whole economy.
Where you still look at your year-end target is at 6,600 still? So that's up about 8% from where we closed on Friday?
Yeah, I think that the reason people don't think there's more upside, I think there's upside to 6,600, because the PE of the market can go up a lot. We already had 5 shocks. We had COVID shock, the supply chain shock, the inflation shock, the Fed fastest hikes in history, and then we had the tariff shock. So 5 shocks in 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And earnings kept growing. If this was like a stock, we'd say, look, if you tried to kill it 5 times and it still grew earnings, we would put a much higher multiple on it.
Jim Chanos was talking on Bloomberg the other day and said that what we're seeing right now in AI reminds him of a lot of ways in the dot-com bubble. Now, the numbers and the earnings are very different, but he was talking about the Cisco's and the Lucents and some of those companies that were selling the things to shore up the internet. And I think he's looking at all of the CapEx spending that's taking place and saying it's great for right now, but it could change drastically and relatively quickly too.
Yeah, you know, I was a tech analyst during that time. I think it's very different. You know, we have to remember the internet boom was companies like Yahoo creating web pages that were raising venture capital funds to create web pages. So the purchase of the equipment was based on like creating web pages.
Right.
AI has use cases like replacing workers. So you have true dollars for a company to measure how much they're saving. And so until we get to the point where AI doesn't save you any money,
right,
then it's a bubble, but
because
maybe it's undervalued.
There are use cases right now, and it's not just about selling to the consumer and getting people to pay you to basically give stuff to the consumer for free.
That's right. And it's almost like magic is happening, right? ChatGPT, people have remarkable experiences. Some of these people are using it as a therapist. Nobody in the early internet days was saying the web pages worked great everywhere. It was actually People were just building web pages to nowhere.
If it,
So again, Tom Lee, broadly bullish on the nature of the markets that we have going on. We all kind of understand his macro thesis around inflation, rates coming down, et cetera. But AI, which is obviously this thing that has impacted all of us and will continue to impact us as investors, continues to grow. Why is AI continuing to grow? Well, we continue to see value, use cases, and results. And one of those companies that put up some results today, and their stock is benefiting another 7%, solidifying Larry Ellison as one of the richest people in the world because he still owns about 40% of this company, Oracle. Oracle put out this statement today. Oracle's off to a strong start in fiscal year 2026. Our multi-cloud database revenue continues to grow at over 100%, and we signed multiple large cloud service agreements, including one that is expected to contribute more than $30 billion. One contract on the cloud database that is expected to contribute more than $30 billion in annual revenue starting in fiscal year 2028. Oracle right now having some fun in the pre-markets. The stock was already up 20% before today's announcements, up another 7%. This market cap is going to be over $600 billion when it opens. I mean, dude, this is real. This is very, very real. It's hard to deny that it's real and it's happening in front of us. I mean, we thought the cloud revenues and the SaaS revenues on Oracle, because there's like a lot of different parts of their business, was going to increase at 60, 70, 80% in a variety of different fields. And I don't think anyone expected today that one contract alone would be another 30 billion. I mean, they already increased guidance. They already blew away everyone's expectations 2 weeks ago when they put out their earnings. This is just another level. And what this means is, you know, it's not just insulated towards Oracle. They're getting this demand from somewhere. If they're getting it from a large cloud service provider, it means that cloud service provider is probably getting a ton of AI workload demand, and they need something like Oracle to help them manage all of that. And that just leads to the broader argument that AI is real, which also comes back to the semiconductor companies, one being NVIDIA. NVIDIA right here, 158 in the pre-markets. Who is that one contract? That's a good question. You know, TikTok, that's a good guess. I mean, Trump did say over the weekend that we officially have a buyer for TikTok. A lot of people are speculating that it is Oracle. Oracle has been rumored to be in the acquisition process for TikTok for a long time. And I mean, if there would be any company that needs massive cloud services agreements, one could argue it would be one of the biggest social networks in the world, which is TikTok. So very incredible. And of course, Evan right here breaking the news, stock market news. This is my favorite stock market Twitter account. I'll put his Twitter right here in the description. He's there in the chat. Shout out to Evan for being here. And it's just incredible. It's just incredible. It is hard to deny the level of momentum that we are seeing in this market right now. And as a result, you've got a variety of verticals that are converging right here. You've got obviously crypto that we talked about with Tom Lee just now. By the way, the company that he's becoming the chairman of, BMNR, that stock was up 48%. It is now up 187%. Getting some love right here. You've got crypto, you've got stable coins, you've got AI, and then you've got earnings growth on top of that to really reconcile what is turning into what Tom Lee has also said for the past couple of weeks, the beginning of a new bull market, which sounds kind of crazy to say. But if we're going to have the earnings growth, as he just talked about, it's hard to be bearish on that versus expand that multiple, not to mention the trillions and trillions of dollars on the sidelines that eventually is going to find a way to be allocated once rates do come down. So we're getting a lot of momentum right here. Tesla's the only one that's not really doing the best in the pre-market. Again, I think the street's worried about delivery numbers, which might be insignificant, might not be significant going into next week. I think we get them. No, we get them this week. I think we get them on Wednesday. Let me know in the chat if I'm wrong. But if we get them on Wednesday, then most people are expecting a solid 15 to 20% miss in terms of expectations. It is what it is. We're going to see how that plays out. Over the weekend, Tesla did officially deliver their first autonomous vehicle from Gigafactory, Texas, that had no driver in the seat as it took itself to a customer. So very big update for Tesla. The first time this ever happened. They released a 3-minute sped up version and a full 30-minute video on their Twitter as well. This was just inspiring to look at. It was pretty incredible to see how this is playing out. Yes, they did fire the head of U.S. sales on Friday. So, I mean, we know European sales are going to be down 50% across the board in every European country. So U.S. sales probably not the best. European sales objectively not the best. We know that they're doing 0% APR on Cybertrucks. If you buy FSD, they're giving 1.9% ARR or APYs on APRs on the new Model Y. So like you've got these incentives from Tesla that obviously, one would argue would hurt their margins, but they need to increase their volume. So we're going to see. I mean, last time it was bad. The stock fell 5% and it recovered intraday and no one really cared. So if they didn't care last time, I don't know why they would care this time, especially because the progress that Tesla's made in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months has been incredible when it comes to robotaxi. Obviously, that's not going to impact the bottom line anytime soon. But if your thesis is the auto business, then the stock would be nowhere near 320 in the first place. So I am curious to see how the street reacts to this. And ultimately, we're going to see, what the market perception of this is going to be. S&P 500 right here, 617. SoFi, 1773. Google finally getting a little bit of a bid right here, 181, up 1.85%. I think the path to 200 is starting to begin, and it's very exciting for Google getting some love. Now, Circle got upgraded and downgraded a ton this morning. So Circle got upgraded by Bernstein to like 230, but then it got downgraded by JP Morgan to 80. So you gotta pick a camp on whichever side you're going to be. You got the JP Morgans of the world that feel that stablecoins are bullish, but this is just way too much in terms of the valuation, and it's relatively aggressive. The 50% of the revenue goes to Coinbase, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got the Bernsteins that are saying stablecoins are going to be a massive, massive market. And as a result of that massive market, it's hard to deny the momentum that stablecoins are going to be playing as well. And so Circle right here, slightly up in the pre-markets. It was at 300, now at 182. Maybe it kind of chills out around this 150, 200 range. But we're going to see how the market ultimately interprets what's going to happen with Circle. Well, Tesla released new, cheaper models today. So people have been rumoring it because today's the last day of H1, and Tesla did say for the past 3 quarters that the end of H1 2025 is when they will announce their new affordable vehicles. I mean, if they do, that'd be pretty bullish. I don't know if there's any plans for Elon to show off a new affordable model today. I don't even know if they have it ready to show off. We know we've seen videos of them testing like a smaller stripped down version of a Model Y that would hopefully cost like $30,000 or less. I don't know if we get the announcement today. And if we don't, it's Elon, right? Sometimes the timelines don't always go according to plan. So I think investors are just going to have to deal with the fact that, this timeline is not going to go to plan. But if it does happen, I think that would be relatively bullish. The market's not acting like that's going to happen today. Tesla right here down about 0.5%, but maybe it does. And if it does, that would be pretty bullish. Palantir and Accenture. Yes. So we got a new partnership today with Palantir and Accenture. Now, this is the big deal. This is not going to be some multi-$100 million contract, but this is very important for Palantir's moat in the government space. So today they announced Palantir is teaming up with Accenture Federal Services to accelerate AI across the U.S. government, working to address federal agencies' highest priority and operational challenges. The reason this is such a big deal is because, first of all, let me just address the Palantir sell-off on Friday for those that are still confused about it. Palantir was one of the top holdings in the Russell 1000. I didn't even know about that. They were 9% of the holdings. The Russell 1000 was rebalancing. Rocket Lab got into the Russell. Palantir got out of the Russell. So that's why you saw Rocket Lab last week go up 15%, then Palantir dropped 10% in a day. It's kind of recovering that 5%. There was nothing fundamental about it other than the rebalance. So the S&P and the NASDAQ, they rebalanced Palantir into the indices of September and November of last year. This one is the opposite. This one's rebalancing out. Essentially, Palantir is just getting too big for the index, and that means that the indice has to get rid of it and get some other companies. But that means there's opportunities for other ETFs, indices, et cetera, to include Palantir. So that 10% drawdown, although a 10% drop is not that big of a deal, given we're up more than 100% from the lows, was not really rooted in anything that fundamental. This deal is super bullish because Accenture, and particularly Accenture in the government space, is massive. If you know anything about government procurement or software procurement inside of the government, a lot of it goes through these consulting firms like an Accenture, like a Booz Allen Hamilton, et cetera. Palantir already partnered with Booz Allen Hamilton 3 weeks ago. And now they're working with Accenture. And one of the reasons I think Accenture and Booz are starting to seriously decide to get into Palantir or start to work with Palantir is because we saw that Doge actually canceled a ton of contracts specifically for Booz Allen Hamilton. And, a lot of, and even Trump, I think there was an article a week ago saying like, hey, I need essentially the economic advisor, Kevin Hasset, said, we are going to force these consulting firms to prove to us why we should keep paying them. One of the ways to keep getting paid by the government is if you actually bring a technology element towards your consulting. And from that perspective, partnering with a name brand like Palantir that's already heavily integrated into the government seems like a win-win for Accenture and for Palantir. So I think that's relatively bullish. And although we're seeing OpenAI get some contracts in the government, because obviously the government's not going to give every single contract to Palantir, it is nice to see that they're working with the leading consulting firms inside of the DoD. And as a result, that should hopefully lead to more top-line growth for Palantir as well. So that's what we got there. Yes, Rocket Lab did get a bunch of European defense contracts last week as well. Is it 37? It was 37 last night. It's at 36.78. Pretty much everything, bro, in the pre-markets is getting a bid. Tesla's one of the only ones that's red, but Google's up. Grab $5 right here. Again, we got to hold it. The target where I feel comfortable saying Grab can hold 5 is 530. And that's not going to be that easy to achieve. But 530, we got to break above that. And if we do, I think we're in a much better space. But 530 is what we're looking for there. Alpha right here, 126. Apple, 201. SMCI, 4870. GameStop right here, 2365. Intel, Rocket Lab, Big Bear AI. Again, this one's running in the pre-markets up 9.4% right here. I'm not in this, not chasing it, but the option flow is bullish. So from that perspective, traders are betting that this one is going to go higher. You got the VIX right here, just below 18. Alibaba down about 1.42%. Oh, the big banks are doing great. Why are the big banks doing great? They all passed the stress test, as was reported on Friday. So JP Morgan up in the pre-market, Bank of America up in the pre-market, Wells Fargo up in the pre-market, Citi up in the pre-market. Financial earnings start July 11th. If these financials, these banks show that Q2 is really strong for them, I mean, hopefully it's a segue into tech earnings, which we need to be very strong as well. And M&As, IPO, you got all this new regulation coming around stablecoin and SLR ratios, supplementary leverage ratios. It does seem like although the banks, which are sitting on about $500 billion of paper losses because they issued a lot of loans at 2%, loans or rates are now, at 4.5%. Eventually, rates will come down and those paper losses will be absorbed from the books. But right now, there's still some heavy paper losses. The market is willing to look past that for the broader growth that the banks are going to show. And passing the stress test was kind of another way for the banks to basically say, hey, we are in a good position and, we should be able to succeed and not be stuck with any broader financial issues. So that's what we got in the context of some of these banks. All right, let's go back to Tom Lee. So again, the big announcement today is that Tom Lee is building an Ethereum treasury on a public company called BitMine, which is a Bitcoin miner. Here's the technical explanation. Curious what everyone thinks about it and how they interpret what he's doing here for why he's engaging in this new process.
Basically, what MicroStrategy did with Ether. You're going to make Ether the purchases that you buy through this. You're going to set this whole thing up like this. You want to explain a little bit?
Yeah, glad to. I'm still a big fan of Bitcoin because I think it is, digital gold. But what we've seen in the last, really in 2025 is the financial services industry and crypto are converging. And it really started with stablecoins, which is the ChatGPT of crypto, right? Because it's viral adoption by consumers, businesses, banks, and now even Visa. Underneath the stablecoin industry is Ethereum. That is really like the backbone and architecture of stablecoins. So it's important to create a project that essentially accumulates Ethereum to essentially protect and have some influence on the network. So that's why we're creating this treasury vehicle to buy Ethereum. The more Ethereum that's accumulated, the more secure the network is. And I think it's also sort of the architecture that future banks will have. When Goldman issues a stablecoin and JP Morgan doing it on Ethereum, as a layer one blockchain, they're going to want to secure it by staking Ethereum. So we're trying to get in front of that by creating a treasury vehicle.
And just so I understand, it's safer if you own more of it. Explain why that would be.
Well, Ethereum is a proof of stake network.
Right.
So unlike Bitcoin, which is proof of work and miners do all the work for you, and that's why you have decentralized trust. In Ethereum, it's important for these entities to essentially validate transactions. So by becoming a staking entity, you're sort of securing the fidelity of stablecoins. So you don't want a stablecoin like USDC or USDT to be on a blockchain that's outside the purview of the US. And so I think Ethereum is a high quality, the second largest blockchain network, and it's over 51% of stablecoins, and
Right.
30% of all fees on Ethereum are actually stablecoin revenue.
So we even have the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, talking about how stablecoins could be very positive. He likes them, likes to see what's there. But you're basically saying with this, and we've also seen what happened with Circle, the stablecoin issuer,
Yes.
huge run up after their IPO. So you're basically saying that this is the new Bitcoin. You're getting in at a very early stage.
Correct. That's right. Because let's say stablecoins, which is 250 billion today, gets to Treasury Secretary Bessent's reasonable 2 trillion. That's a 10 times increase in size. By the way, already stablecoins are the 12th largest holder of treasuries. They'll become the #1 holder by then. US dollar dominance is 27% in GDP terms. It's 57% of central bank reserves. It's 80% of financial trading transactions. It's 100% of stablecoin denomination. So by getting to 2 trillion, you're ensuring dollar dominance. This is very good for the US. But $2 trillion of stablecoins is a lot of network fees for Ethereum.
So Bitmine Immersion, what you're doing is a $250 million private placement, which is all going to be put into
Yes,
Ether.
that's right. We created a carefully curated list of investors to bet on this. If you look at the press release, it is the blue chip, both in the financial world and in the crypto world. We have
Founders Fund, Kraken, Galaxy Digital.
Yep,
amongst the
Pantera.
names.
Yeah, so these are in the crypto world, and these are like sort of the blue chip crypto entities. And of course, Founders Fund is legendary in the traditional financial world.
And
All right. So essentially, Lee is making the argument around how stablecoins will use Ethereum as one of the core networks for proof of stake, which essentially should mean more transaction fees over the long term when it comes to Ethereum. Now, look, I'm not the biggest expert on Ethereum. I don't understand it as well as a lot of other people. I do know, by the way, GRRR, I know this is another retail name. They issued some dilution this morning, so that was why that stock is down about 9%. I do understand Ethereum from a smart contract perspective, and they are the second biggest blockchain on the planet outside of Bitcoin. So Solana has had more fun over the past 2 years in terms of decentralized finance. A lot of the meme coins, the Trump meme coin, for example, was based on Solana. A lot of these meme coins are not using Ethereum because it's just not the best network to be able to launch a coin and be able to have the transaction fees, the gas fees, etc. However, from a stablecoin perspective, you need a network that's a lot more stable. And what Tom Lee's essentially making the argument for is that that network is Ethereum. So this is going to be relatively interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, Tom Lee endorsing Ethereum is a hell of an endorsement, and Ethereum not really even up in the pre-markets. It hasn't really moved for a while, to be honest. It is vastly not been outperformed by Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is almost 5x from the lows. Ethereum has been relatively flat. Ethereum has not even achieved its highs of 4,800 that it got to back 4 years ago in 2021. So it's going to be one of those things where if the stablecoin market grows, I mean, Robinhood potentially might be coming out with their own stablecoin today. I mean, we're going to see a lot of different things. And if they're using Ethereum as their layer for how they conduct all these transactions, that could be a very big thing for it. So Ethereum not really getting a bid right now in the pre-markets, but BMNR, which is the company 245% that just issued this $250 million placement to buy Ethereum. As you can see, it is being run up. People are chasing it. Tom Lee's on the board of directors. I wouldn't be surprised if they do an offering. I wouldn't be surprised if this comes crashing down. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up another 250%. But this one is definitely catching a bid right here in the pre-markets. So exciting stuff. We're seeing a lot of different things that are happening right now in regards to crypto. Now, some people may say it feels a little bubbly. I think that's fair. I can definitely understand someone like Tom Lee becoming the board of directors and starting his own MicroStrategy of Ethereum. That feels bubbly. However, this is when it begs the question of just like, does 1 + 1 = 2? Is his argument correct about stablecoins, the use of stablecoins, the trajectory of stablecoins, and then ultimately the beneficiary of a stablecoin, the byproduct of all that volume of transactions and treasury demand? Is that Ethereum? And if that is, then I think that's his argument, which is not the craziest argument here in the world. Robinhood right here, 85.32. Let's look at some other stocks in the pre-market. Celsius, which had a great week last week, that's up another 1%. SoundHound is up about 2.03%. QBTS, D-Wave, that is up about 1% as well. GameStop right here, that's up 0.25. You got Lockheed Martin, that's down a little bit. Nubank is up about 0.61%. Google, again, doing great right here, maybe breaking over 185-ish, which potentially is possible. I mean, I would argue that's the at least minimum value you would expect for something like a Google. I mean, 220 is where a lot of people's price targets are, but breaking above that 185 level, I think would be very encouraging. The last time we even got close to that was on the Google live event the day after. Yeah, literally right there. Did we break through? We got to just about 182. So, I mean, if we break over 182, 183 today, that theoretically could say, all right, we're back from the, April highs that we set after that event, or I think that was in May, on an event that relatively was okay in terms of the announcements, but it wasn't the most exciting in terms of the presentation. But regardless, you could imagine the street giving it a higher premium. They did announce they 9x'd the amount of tokens that they're designating through the platform. And as a result, that could be something that the street hangs their hat on as well. Now, Meta in the pre-markets, new all-time high, 746. Last high was 740. 0.91. It's at 746. I don't think there's any main update on Meta other than the streets saying, hey, we are coming back to the Max 7. Oh, actually, there is an update on Meta. There is a hell of an update on Meta. So what's been happening with Meta? Well, they have been stealing everyone from OpenAI. Meta stole 8 different researchers from OpenAI over the past 2 weeks. And OpenAI had to put out an email to all their employees addressing what's going on. So Mark Chen, the chief research officer at OpenAI, sent a forceful memo to staff on Saturday, promising to go head-to-head with the social media giant in the war for the top research talent. He wrote, I feel a visceral feeling right now as if someone has broken into our home and stolen something. Please trust that we haven't been sitting idly by. And they also gave their entire staff of employees a break this week to recharge. So I think they have a couple of days off from coming into work to kind of recharge from the stress that OpenAI has been going through with losing some of their top talent. Because outside of just the talent that's leaving, if you're an OpenAI and you think this company is going to the moon and you're dedicating your life to it, and then Meta comes in with their $100 million pay packages and just steals some of the top researchers that are advancing you to super intelligence, artificial general intelligence, I mean, it could make you start questioning if you want to still be an OpenAI, right? As an employee, as a researcher, et cetera. So I don't think Sam Altman was kidding around when he said Meta is throwing around their money and just taking away anyone they can. And I think the market's accurately saying, you know what, that might hurt some of Meta's margins if they're paying, let's say, $100 million to 8 people, probably not all at once, probably based on performance and stuff, but that's $800 million. That's almost $1 billion just in compensation. I mean, if you're really going to spend that much money, that might affect the bottom line. However, it also might mean you win when it comes to AGI over OpenAI. And as a result, I think the street is pricing that in right there. Meta right here at 746, Apple at 202, Robinhood 84.45, and then Palantir 136.88 as well. Very bullish Meta. I mean, although it could be hurting some of their margins, it seems relatively bullish that Meta is going on this route to achieve AGI. Triple V, thank you for the $100 super chat. Again, shout out to Mr. Triple V. He is here in the chat. He did awesome on that Nike trade last week. I wish I held on to my 100 shares, but I didn't. Nike right here down about 0.31%. Nike had its biggest day in history, or at least the biggest day in about 20 years on Friday when it was up 17%, which was pretty incredible. So Triple V did make a nice little 700K off buying 100,000 shares on that. Nike right here, 71.88. And speaking of Nike, Lululemon this morning is suing Costco. Lululemon down about 40% on the year. The reason they're suing Costco is because they're saying that Costco's impersonating their clothes. Like the lawsuit is, the way it was worded, it's like they're suing them because of it's not copyright infringement because they're not a software company, but they're suing them based on how they're replicating their clothes. Oh yeah, selling clothing knockoffs. That's the headline. I don't even know what this means. I don't know how you sell a clothing knockoff. Like if Costco makes a shirt that looks like Lululemon, is that a knockoff? Like I don't even know how this works. But yeah, Lululemon is suing Costco. So you got that going on with Lululemon. So that's what we got going on. Thank you again, Triple V, for the super chat. John Doe, thank you for the $10. I'm a Palantir and IREN investor. Have you considered interviewing Mike Alfred on IREN? So Mike and I have talked. He might be joining the deep dive that we potentially are doing this week. I know a lot of people are interested in IREN, so maybe. I do know Mike. I've talked to him personally. I've known him for like the past year, so we might be able to have him on that discussion. If not, then we'll try to find some other people. This one up another 4% in the pre-markets. Again, IREN, more associated with energy and hyperscalers, not just with the Bitcoin mining part of their business, and that's why the street's getting more excited about it. They do have a partnership with CoreWeave. CoreWeave right here up another 2%. So hopefully on Thursday, we can do that deep dive on IREN, and we can keep going further from there. NVIDIA right here, 158.85, AMD 145, S&P 617. We got the market open in about 12 minutes. SoFi 1770, Google right here, 181.73 in the pre-markets. Why is Joby up? I don't know why Joby's up, but if Joby's up 7%. Is Archer getting some love? Archer is also up 1%. I'm sure there's a reason for why Joby is getting some love. Nebius as well. That one's moving. I mean, you got a pretty green pre-market. The Q's all-time highs. Nebius up 2%. Q's 551. It's pretty damn incredible, dude. We hit all-time highs on Friday. And it seems like we will be potentially being able to continue this. Okay, Joby cements global lead in air taxi industry with Dubai flights and beginning of commercial market readiness work. Delivers their first aircraft to the UAE. Construction underway on Joby's first commercial vertiport site at the Dubai International Airport and on track for Q1 2026 to be completed. Yeah, pretty bullish. I mean, the biggest thing with these eVTOLs is, can they get into the market? That is the biggest thing that people are waiting for, to see if there's going to be like real revenue, real earnings from them as they scale. The demand for their product is obvious. I mean, there are plenty of rich people that would love to go from New York to San Francisco, from LA to San Francisco, or New Jersey to New York, or New York to Boston, or, you know, just like these like 30-minute flights instead of staying on a 2-hour commercial flight. The demand is pretty obvious. The question is the technology able to match that demand? And that's what I think Joby and Archer are working towards. Cool. So that's what we got there. Let's talk a little bit about what Trump said on Sunday. So he had an interview on Sunday, and we didn't even talk about the most bullish news that happened. Okay, so hold on. So this has happened last night. So the Tom Lee Ethereum stuff kind of got us a bit distracted by it. But so remember on Friday when Trump said he's stopping negotiations with Canada because of their digital services tax on our tech companies? Yeah, last night, Canada said, all right, you win. Canada has taken away its digital services tax to advance U.S. trade talks and is looking to get a deal done by July 21st. This is another reason why the pre-markets are so green, and why last night the overnight markets were running higher as well. Essentially, and the Canadian Business Council they sent a statement to Mark Carney, the PM of Canada, on Friday, when Trump announced that he's not going to be negotiating anymore until they drop this digital services tax, which essentially would put an arbitrary tax on like Google, Facebook, Amazon, the stuff that the European Union is trying to do. Trump said, hey, we're just not going to talk until you get rid of that stuff. And it looks like they got rid of that stuff. So this was tweeted at 1:44 p.m. on Friday. The market dipped, if you want to call, like a less than a 0.5% dip, a dip on Friday. And it looks like Carney's like, all right, we're not going to do that. Quite frankly, Trump's been getting some wins, man. The Iran situation, if we actually did take out their nuclear facilities and now potentially we might open up trade with them, which is one thing that Trump mentioned on his Sunday Fox interview, that could be a win. You got the big, beautiful bill that is going to get ready to be passed. It passed the Senate from a 51 to 49 vote to begin the new discussion for amendments. So that doesn't mean that the bill is passed, but it does mean that it is getting much closer to being passed, which is another win. And then if we get these trade deals that are going to start happening after the big, beautiful bill gets passed, which is what the administration has been signaling, that would also be a very, very big win for the administration. So Trump said on Sunday, I would lift Iran sanctions if they can be peaceful. I don't think I need to extend the tariff deadline, but I could. TLDR, he's going to be extending the tariff deadline. There's no way in hell on July 9th we're going to be tariffing all these countries with reciprocal rates. And that could be another reason the markets are rallying, because they know that's going to happen, but potentially they pump on that news when he does announce it. He talked about Elon. He said, I think Elon Musk is a wonderful guy. I know he'll do well, but he got a little upset, and what he said wasn't appropriate. He said, we have a buyer for TikTok, a group of very wealthy people. That might include Oracle. He said, Netanyahu is in the process of negotiating a deal with Hamas to get the hostages back, which could be more peace and stability, which could obviously be good for the markets. He did say we should be at 1% or 2% interest rates. I don't think we're getting there anytime soon, but nonetheless, that could be relatively bullish if we do get any level of meaningful cuts. And then he said, we're stopping trade talks with Canada until they stop certain taxes. Last night, they stopped those taxes, which is why the markets are up now based on that news as well. So, I mean, across the board, you're seeing bullish momentum. HIMS right here, wow, up 4%. HIMS. If HIMS can get back to 60 in less than a week after all the crap it went through last week in regards to the Novo stuff, that would be exciting. That would be very, very exciting to see for HIMS. Now, the question is going to be, obviously, will the lawsuits that are coming up, that we know are coming up, could that potentially derail that progress? Time will tell. But if it doesn't, then, it would be pretty nice to see some of this momentum on HIMS regain the traction that it had. And again, that traction, the reason I didn't sell my HIMS is because it's like, I didn't think selling based off of losing a Novo partnership was the thesis breaker. I know some people did, and maybe it is. Maybe there's a lot more to the story. But as of now, markets are saying, hey, we'll move on. HIMS did appoint the chief VP of product at Robinhood as their new chief product officer, which is, I think, super bullish, because it means they're probably looking to become more of a tech company with better margins. And if that's the case, as any company can gain operating leverage, I mean, that's just relatively bullish for their overall net income, which means their EPS. So that could definitely be bullish for HIMS. Again, Robinhood at 11 a.m. They will be having their event. Very excited to see what they have to say. I'll be streaming it live from this market open. And, we're going to see what Robinhood announces. I think it's going to be something pretty big. And I think it's going to be one of those things that, really gets the market to say, hey, this is not just a meme stock trading app. We already knew they were transforming in a variety of different ways. What if they're officially becoming one of the largest players in crypto as well? Oracle right here is up 7.5%. Again, the reason why Oracle is up is because they disclosed a new partnership this morning. They didn't name the name of the company. A lot of people are speculating it might be TikTok, but $30 billion in annual revenue from that one customer that signed a large cloud services agreement, expected to start in fiscal year 2028. That alone is why the street is giving Oracle some of this momentum. There is no news on Grab for those that are asking. I mean, there was one piece of news on Grab over the weekend. If you want to count it as a piece of news, it was OpenAI is partnering with the Pentagon, the Indian government, and Grab. It was kind of random to see that they're partnering with Grab. It's like the Pentagon, the Indian government, and then Grab. So it was like, honestly, it's really bullish momentum. Just be not. I don't know if the deal is super bullish, but the momentum is bullish because already you can tell some of the sentiments changing around Grab. If it continues to hold on this trajectory, you got a lot of the technical people that are coming out posting their charts saying, "Hey, we see this inverse head and shoulders. We think the next target is 650. If it can clear 540, yada yada." And then you get OpenAI saying, "Hey, we partnered with Grab." It's just it just helps, to have one of the hottest AI companies say that they're working with what I think is going to be one of the biggest companies in Southeast Asia as they dominate the region. So yeah, they had a partnership with OpenAI last year. So I don't think it's old news in the fact that OpenAI is not reiterating the contract they had from last year. I think they're doubling down on the partnership they have with Grab. So probably Grab's paying them even more money to work on custom AI. And again, there's not a lot of companies in Southeast Asia that are meaningfully doing AI. But if Grab is embracing it, and they showed off a lot of those AI products at the first ever product event they had back in April, that could be another reason the street is getting a bit more excited for it as well. Here's Bessent on Friday when he was asked if he potentially would be the new Fed chair.
Next year. Your response, is that a job you'd consider taking?
Look, I'll do what the president wants, but I think I have the best job in Washington. We're making meaningful change, working on the president's agenda every day. I get to work closely with the president. I think that, as I like to say, we've done peace deals, trade deals, and tax deals. We spent the first 100 days setting the table on those. Now we're going to be landing all those over the next 100 days. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting.
All three of those we've been talking about this week.
Again, it'd be pretty crazy, pretty freaking crazy if Mr. Bessent becomes the new Fed chair. I mean, it would be one of those things where if that happens, I think all of us have to get ready for rates to come down. Now, rates are probably not coming down to 1 or 2%, but rates are going to be down closer to 3%, I would imagine, if that takes place. And so here's the thing about the markets now as well. And Chamath actually had a good take about this on All In on Saturday. His argument would be the best bet is to be levered long. And why does that make sense? Because if rates are coming down and the trillions in money market funds are not going to get the same type of yield they've been getting, kind of the T-bill and chill vibe that people have had to the tune of 7 trillion, that money's going somewhere. It's either going to real estate, it's either going to crypto, or it's going to stocks. Now, crypto, again, just not as big of an industry as stocks. Real estate, until rates meaningfully come down, you're not going to be able to get the best deals, which might take 3 to 4 cuts of 25 basis points. But if we get even 1 or 2 cuts, immediately the yield you're getting in a money market fund or a high yield savings account drops by 25 bips, maybe even more than that based on the specific account that you're with or the brokerage that you're with. And as a result, you tend to say, all right, where else can I get a better yield? And that might be in a company like Robinhood that's growing 40%, or a Palantir, or a Tesla, or an Nvidia. I mean, it just means the equity markets continue to maintain momentum. And the reason it doesn't feel as bubbly to me, although there are pockets of froth in the market, is because you got Google trading at 17 times. That's not bubbly at all. So you have those parts of the market that are rather undervalued. But number 2, you have earnings growth. If we have earnings growth, this can go on. Like, as soon as we stop showing earnings growth, which maybe it happens 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe 2 months from now, we're going to see what happens with earnings. Then it becomes similar to the dot-com bubble where there just was not the earnings to justify the valuations. Here, you can say valuations are aggressive, but you can't say there's no earnings. And again, Oracle literally saying they're going to get 30 billion from one company this morning. That 30 billion is not only going to be impacting Oracle, that's going to be impacting a lot of different sub-vendors and contractors that they work with. That is just more money that flows into the system. So I think a lot of the bears, they can point to a variety of different arguments. And I do think there are different arguments to be bearish on, but earnings growth is not one of those. And we'll see, maybe tariffs hurt Q2 so badly that earnings growth suffers. But if it doesn't, then I think we're going to be able to continue to see more of this momentum. All right, folks, here we go. We got about 2 minutes, 1 minute until the market opens. I hope everyone had a good weekend. We are back. This is the last day of Q2. Excited to end out the second quarter. This year has been moving by super quick, but we are ending off Q2, entering into Q3. And big Robinhood event at 11 a.m. Again, I'll be streaming that here. We'll see what they have to say. Robinhood here up 3%. The all-time high is 85.90. So if we break above 85 and get into the 86 range, that could be very bullish. Rocket Lab right here at 36.52. Google right here up 1.2%. And we're going to see how this market wants to play out today as well. I did fix my AC. Yes, thankfully. So I was sweating last night on the Future Show because it was so damn hot. But yes, the AC's fixed, and so I can be a little bit more calm now and not sweating like crazy. All right, here we go. Thank everybody for being here. Monday, June 30th, June 13th, June 30th is June 30th, last day of the month, starting July tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Robinhood opens up at all-time highs, 86.43. My goodness, up 4% on the day. This might be a little bit of a pump before we get into the announcement. Markets are anticipating something that's going to be pretty damn bullish. Maybe the announcements are even more bullish than what the markets are expecting. 86.60 on Robinhood. Tessie, 322. NVIDIA, 158. Palantir, 137, up about 5% after falling 10% on Friday. S&P 500 right here, 617. AMD, 143. SoFi, 1772. Google, 180. Grab, 496. Not at 5 yet, but just below that $5 level. Reddit at 148. Robinhood really showing the most momentum as soon as we get into this right here. 86.47 on Robinhood. Meta, 741. All-time highs, but is below where it was in the pre-markets right here. Elf is at 126. Apple at 201. SMCI, 48.27. Bitcoin at 107,000. Dave, this is a fintech company. This is at all-time highs. Wow. 258. That's up about 4%. Not doing too bad. Where is AMD? AMD's at 143. Whereas Nebius right here, 54.27. I think that's an all-time. All-time is 55. All right, so just below all-time highs for Nebius. Oh my goodness, 87. 87 for Hoodie. The market is the market's pretty excited. The market's pretty excited for what they're going to show off today. 87 for Hoodie. S&P 616.8. NVIDIA 157. Getting a little bit of a red candle. Tesla 325. That's green from 322. Palantir 137. Robinhood just touching 87. Just below that at 86.85. 87.10 is what we got to. Google right here. A little bit of a red candle as well. Not able to hold that 181 level. NVIDIA 157. And then SoFi. Let me check resistance on SoFi for 18. SoFi right here is at 1772, $18 resistance, 213,000 shares. 213,000 shares for SoFi. Big Bear AI, is that one running? That one is running 13%. Big Bear AI, it is up 13%. Again, I am not chasing this one. However, the option flow that I looked at this morning, relatively bullish. So if you're in this one, there is a shot that 750, which is what traders are targeting, might be around the corner for about 3 weeks out. That's where the call option flow is headed. PayPal right here, 73.75. Again, Apple 201. Lockheed Martin, that's up. Nubank, that's up about 1%. Red Cat drone manufacturer, that's up 3.3%. Cisco, 69.20. That's up about 1%. The VIX is again down. Pfizer right here, 0.19. Where are the semis? The semis are mixed. So Dell's down, Nubank's down, or sorry, not Nubank, Micron, which had a great earnings. This one's very confusing to me. AMD is down. NVIDIA goes red, although NVIDIA had a great week last week, so can't really complain. SMCI is green. ASML is down. TSM is down. Qualcomm down. So all the semis getting a little bit of a red candle, even though last week was one of the most bullish weeks, I think, in the entire year for the semiconductor industry. Oracle still up 7%. Oracle still up 7% after they disclosed that brand new partnership this morning that will yield them about $30 billion in revenue. Robinhood right here, 86.50, still holding on to that 86 level. Grab right here, 49, goes red. $5 is going to be tough for Grab. $5 is going to be tough. I think someone put this out on Twitter over the weekend, which is a really good tweet. 4 to 6 is going to be the hardest for Grab. 6 to 10 is going to be the easiest. So getting from that $4 hump to 6, because we haven't seen 6 in literally 4 years, barely have seen 570 in 4 years. That's going to be the hard money. The easy money is going to be from 6 to 10, but it might take some time, obviously. And, you know, if you believe in the thesis, then you kind of hold on. If you don't, then I think there's other things that we're going to run way quicker than Grab. But that is going to be the challenge for Grab, getting over really that 550 and then eventually that $6 range. Tesla goes red, 325 to 321. Robinhood's the only one holding on. Everything else, you're seeing red candles. You're seeing a lot of red candles right here. Is Disney all-time highs? Disney is not all-time highs, but it is 52-week highs. So highest, Disney did get upgraded this morning by JP Morgan to 140, but they don't have a buy. They have a hold rating. So they didn't say buy it, but they do have a price target that is higher. 124 on Disney, that's 52-week highs. What about ASTS? This one had a big week last week. ASTS 49. Basically flat. Rocket Lab 3650. Oscar, that one is up 5%. Oscar, kind of back to where it was after last week when it started really pumping. We do get PMI today, do we? I think we do get PMI. 945. Yes, we get Chicago PMI today. All right, we get Chicago PMI. So we'll see that in about 10 minutes. That could also be affecting the market. Hood posted their monthly stats. We talked about that already on Friday. So the monthly stats were pretty bullish on Robinhood. They only get month to date, but all the numbers put together shows us still coming in around 900, I think around 920 million. Tanner thinks 940 million in revenue, which would be about 35-40% growth. So based on those monthly metrics, it's not too bad. Robinhood right here, back to 87. Back to 87. Where is that company? BMNR. This is the new Tom Lee one. That stock 240%. 240%. Bank of America did raise their their hood target from 65 to 95. So you do have that price target that's helping it out. But BMNR, Tom Lee is joining the board of directors. He is now establishing a MicroStrategy of Ethereum. That stock 228% on the day. Again, do you chase it here? I wouldn't, but nonetheless, I think people will. The stock was $4 in the morning. It's now 14. So the question is just going to be, how much momentum can that hold on to? SoFi right here, 1778. NVIDIA, 156. NVIDIA officially goes red. Tessie below 320. That goes red. Robinhood's still holding 87. So the momentum today on Robinhood is primarily based on this event that's coming up. That is why the market's really excited for it. But everything else is getting a little bit of a bid to the downside. Amazon right here, 222. Jeff Bezos did get married over the weekend, spent $50 million. He also sold $5 billion of stock, 25 million shares on Friday. So I hope he definitely enjoyed the wedding. But Amazon right here, 222. That one is down. Reddit did get upgraded again this morning. I think around to 180, 149 on Reddit. That's up about 4.6%. Salesforce right here, 275. That's green. Meta hovering basically at all-time highs at 740. Circle is up 5% on the day. Palo Alto, 202. Uber, 92, basically at all-time highs as well. The Q's at all-time highs. Coinbase took a little bit of a beating last week on Friday after gapping up as much as it did. It got to 375, now at 355. But Coinbase really starting to establish itself as a crypto payments provider more than just a exchange, which is why the market's getting excited. And then Corey right here, 161. That's also green. Fubo, is that running? Fubo, that's up 8%. All right. Joby's up 12% again on that Dubai announcement. So that's helping Joby right here. Archer not really following based on the Joby news. Archer right here. Well, it's up 30%. So following a little bit. Wow. Robinhood. She is moving, folks. 87.60. Let me check resistance at 88. She is not stopping. Circle again up about 5% right here. Yeah, she's moving. 88 resistance on Hoodie. 11,000 shares. That's not a lot. 11,000 shares. Now, you got to watch out. This could be a little bit of a pump before the dump after the event. This has happened before on any event. Pounter, by the way, 138, trying to get back to 140. Again, Pounter sold off because of the Russell rebounds. It looks like some of that sell-off might have been purely based on a technical perspective. And as a result, people might be buying back some of those shares that ultimately got sold off. Robinhood right here, 87.28. If the announcements are really game-changing, I think Robinhood holds this pump. If they're not, if the market's kind of like, we kind of expected more, I can see this fall back down to 82, 83. But if the announcements are big, like big, then I think we're going to, it sounds crazy, but I think 100 is coming up. Not today, but we still have S&P inclusion. We have Robinhood banking that's coming out in the fall. That's going to be massive for net deposits. There's just so much growth and momentum and catalysts that are coming up for Hood. And if they announce the things I think they're announced today, staking, stablecoin, tokenization, and they're ready to be implemented within a couple weeks, like the products are officially live and they can start seeing revenue by Q3 on their highest margin business, which is crypto, then this can obviously be very bullish for Robinhood right here. Tesla 322, Nvidia trying to make its way back to 157, S&P still basically at all-time highs. SoFi 10 cents away, 230,000 shares on SoFi for 18. 10 cents away. And we might have a shot to see if that one is coming through. Yeah, and it's not even the S&P yet. That is also true. Not even in the S&P. Okay, what else do we have that's moving right here? Again, 87.50 on hoodie. SoFi trying to catch to 18. Google not holding 180. Not holding one. Every time this thing gets a bid, look at that red candle. Every time it gets a bid. The big news on Google was on Friday. They're partnering with OpenAI to sell them more TPUs, which to me is very bullish. It's more diversification outside of the search revenue. But it can't hold on. 24 cents until Google goes red. I mean, it's one of the most annoying things ever, but nonetheless, this is how the market is interpreting it. Microsoft right here, 497. That one's also basically flat on the day. In terms of quantum, we looked at D-Wave. That was, okay, that's red. That was up in the pre-markets. Rigetti, that's up 1%. IONQ, that's up 2%. QuantumScape, that stock is up 5%. So we got some of the quantum names that are green. The other ones are basically kind of chilling out, either flat or red. Google right here, 178. SoFi, 1792. Let me check SoFi resistance again. I believe it's around 200,000 shares. 205,000. That's what you're looking at for SoFi. AMD is dumping as well. Now, AMD had a hell of a run last week. So I think, look, some of these stocks are going to give back some of the goods, right? I mean, AMD, NVIDIA, they're just massive moves. All the semis, massive moves. Broadcom, is that green? Broadcom had like a 10% week. Broadcom, wow. Broadcom all-time high is 274. Okay, so Broadcom's not giving it up. But some of these names that had really big weeks, I guess people are taking profits on, which is fair. And it shouldn't be too surprising. But, you know, if you've held AMD for the past year, NVIDIA for the past year, you're probably happy regardless of giving back some of the gains. Palantir right here, 137. That's also up about 5% on the day. QuantumScape is not a quantum stock. It is EV batteries. You are right about that. That is correct. Because of the quantum in the name, I think a lot of people associate with quantum, including myself. I get confused with this, but this is a battery company. This is definitely not a quantum computing company. This was up 30% last week, or it was more than 30. I think it was like 45% last week based on, not even, it was more, it was like 100% last week. There's some deal they signed in regards to batteries. I don't know as much about it. Yeah, but there's the move right there. It was pretty massive last week, as you can see. It was at 415 right now at around $7, up another 4%. The rest of the quantum names, though, are relatively flat on the day. NVIDIA right here, 156.80 is green. Yeah, if anyone has the exact reasoning for why QS pumped last week, I'm assuming it was some battery deal, then let us know. But I didn't go that deep into it last week either. UNH or Google for the next 12 months? That's a good question. Put in the chat. What would you say? I would go with Google next 12 months. Like, I love UNH in terms of this valuation. UNH right here, flat on the day, down about 0.42. But the answer is Google. I mean, objectively, the answer has got to be Google. QS had a major update of production line. Okay, that makes sense. Also, Tesla announced some pretty bullish stuff in regards to batteries as well over the weekend. This news got kind of underlooked, but they are nearing the completion of their first LFP cell manufacturing facility in North America. So this news, look, the street's not going to give it any bump on this, but if you understand how important this is to Tesla's overall vertical integration, then this is a very big deal. And so this is definitely something to be bullish on. I imagine Elon will talk about this on the earnings call as one of the things that people, long-term investors, should really be looking at as like a major update and breakthrough for Tesla. But ultimately, delivery numbers are going to be one of the more important metrics that come out soon. AMD right here, 141.58. That one is red. Yeah, the answer is Google, right? I mean, the answer is Google. It's Google. Like, if we had to pick between those two, it's Google. It would be Google. So there you go. BMNR, again, Tom Lee's new company. That one is up 230% on the day. Again, the thing about this one is if you buy it right now, you're obviously taking a risk that it's up 230%. Will you choose to buy it up 230%? The other thing about this is, again, when it was up 80% in the pre-markets, you also have to take the same risk of, does my capital deserve to be allocated in something that's already up this much on the assumption that more people are just going to buy it for the hell of buying it? Because that's essentially what's happening right now. And that's a choice that people have to make. My investing philosophy is just, I don't chase that type of stuff anymore. That's not the way that I personally want to manage capital. But for those that are chasing it right here, it's kind of stalling out at 230. Does this go up another 200%? Maybe, but maybe it doesn't. I mean, this is one of those things where if you want to take a risk on this stuff, you're just going to have to hold your nose and take a risk and not cry if this thing comes crashing down. Because even MicroStrategy had its own fair share of crashes as it was building the Bitcoin treasury. Now, long-term, if you're bullish on Ethereum and you believe that there's a premium to net asset value that you should be paying for Tom Lee's version of Ethereum with Bitmine, then long-term, you probably don't care. But short-term, if you're buying this because you think it's going to run to 20, I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So I think that's just one thing that has to be factored in. Ethereum, although, is not like, Ethereum's barely green. That's the weird part about this. Like Tom Lee's Ethereum treasury thing is going up, but Ethereum isn't. And so you got a lot more people that are, again, this is the speculative part of the market that makes people a little worried. You got people that are excited about speculating on a Ethereum treasury, but not really buying the asset itself. And the question becomes, what do you get in the treasury that's so much better than the asset? I don't know. Tom Lee didn't really explain what's that much better, other than the company itself as a Bitcoin miner. I don't know any of their stats on how they've done as a Bitcoin miner, but these are questions that I think definitely do need to be asked. All right. PMI is out. What do we have? 40.4 versus 44. Okay. That's a miss. That is a miss when it comes to PMI. That could be a little bearish based on how the equity markets interpret that. So we're at 40.4. Let's see how the market's reacting. Market wanted about 44 or 42. S&P, a little bit of a red candle. Nothing too crazy. Market's not that upset about it. Yeah, I don't think the market's gonna. I mean, PMI is just one of a variety of readings. We had a really good PMI last week on services and manufacturing. They beat across the board. So Chicago PMI coming in lower, 40.4 versus 44. I mean, I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world right here. We do have Goolsby, who's going to be doing a speech today, and Bostic, who's going to be speaking. So you do have two Fed chairs that are talking today. That could actually affect the market a little bit more. Is SoFi 18? Did we hit it? We hit it, folks. There she goes. 18 Dolores for the first time since January. The 52-week high was 1842, so another 40 cents, and you'll be at 52-week highs. There she is, 18. It has been a long time waiting, but she is here from 13 to 18. It was about damn time. It was about damn time, but she is here. And now it feels like, the run to 20 should not be that crazy. The run to 20 should not be that crazy. Not to mention you got rate cuts coming up. You got crypto coming back. I mean, all the bullish catalysts that you need for SoFi are in place. And I think also the market's excited because, Noto was talking about stablecoins. I mean, if you talk about stablecoins or AI, your stock is able to be positioned at least at the forefront of what investors are thinking about. So from a communication perspective, that tweet he put out on Friday, positioning themselves as the kind of core beneficiaries of remittances and payments platforms that potentially could be using Galileo as their rails to be operating stablecoins, that is pretty damn bullish. And as a result, you're getting some momentum right here. SoFi 1811 currently right now. There is a video by Vlad that he just posted. Let's take a look at this. It's an 11-second video. It looks like they are in France getting ready for this crypto event. Okay, it's just music. They're not talking. All right, you got a Robinhood logo on the pool. You got that's the GM of crypto, and that's Vlad. That's Johan, the GM of crypto. All right, there you go. There you go. Fun story about this. When I was at the investor day and I was speaking with Johan, the GM of crypto right there, Vlad came up to us and he was like, is Amit asking for more meme coins? Is he really asking to get more meme coins? And so that was hilarious. And I honestly, after that conversation, they started putting on a ton more meme coins on the. I didn't ask for meme coins. I was just talking more broadly about their crypto thesis there. But I think this is going to be an exciting event. There's going to be an exciting event. 86.93, up about 5%. Robinhood trying to get back to 87. SoFi 18.20. Tanner posted some stats about SoFi on the weekend, and Mr. Anthony Noto actually quote tweeted Tanner's stats. It's the first time Noto has kind of interacted with Tanner more publicly in the past couple months. And so even Noto, CEO of Mr. SoFi, quoting one of the biggest SoFi bulls on the internet, Tanner, saying, how about those apples? So even Noto, his excitement is starting to be a bit more public. And as a result of that, maybe the markets are interpreting that SoFi as well is getting ready to go on its run. 18.15 right here on SoFi. Where's grab? Grab above 5. All right, cool. Holding above 5. Now look, we got to actually close above 5. We got another 8 hours left. I'm not gonna be too excited on grab at 5. We got to really close above it. 5 has been a aggressive level of resistance for basically the past 5 months. So it's nice to see us get above 5. We got to close above it, and then realistically 530 if we want to maintain momentum. But getting above 5 is not too bad. Where's the dollar? Okay, so the dollar is down 97.26. Again, one of the big things about stablecoin that Tom Lee was talking about is that it will keep the dollar as the reserve currency as more and more dollars have to be purchased, more and more treasuries as well have to be purchased to be a reserve for those stablecoins. So that is one of the things that I think kind of the reason Circle is getting this momentum is because, like, if you believe in the US dollar and you believe in dollar dominance, you kind of got to believe in stablecoins. Now, does that mean Circle deserves a $50 billion market cap? That's up to the public markets. But it does mean that stablecoins as a concept, Bessent is very excited about. He's been talking over and over again that we need stablecoin legislation to be part of this administration. And this is one of the main reasons why the crypto fanatics voted for Trump, because a lot of them saw stablecoins before they became as mainstream as they are right now. And they knew that the Trump administration, to be able to deal with the lack of rate cuts, would need some level of demand on bonds to get yields to come down. And stablecoins are seemingly becoming one of the core ways that the administration is going to implement that. Robinhood right here back to 87. So that is actually very bullish as well for the broader markets and definitely for treasury demand. CYN, that stock's down 15%. Again, AI self-driving startup partner with NVIDIA was up 700% on Friday or Thursday. Now it is down about 70. Yeah, about 70% from those highs at 14. Down about 13% of the day. Again, you really just got to be accurate on the timing of these if you're chasing them, but that one is down. Meta below 740. SoFi not stopping. 1825. 1825. Wow. Google's back to 177. Google, this is like, I am thinking. So here's the thing. I want to buy Google before earnings. I really do. But the one position in my portfolio that is not developed and that really I would like it to be developed before the end of 2026 is Tesla. And the problem is, I know Tesla's numbers are not good right now, but I don't think it's going to matter. I know Google's numbers are phenomenal, but I know their narrative sucks. And so it's one of those things where I either go 50-50. I already have some Google, but I would want to buy more, or I just decide to kind of fully build out Tesla because it's the most underdeveloped position in my portfolio. And like, I just really don't want to fade Tesla for the next coming years. I think it's pretty obvious, even if the numbers suck right now. Google right here, 177. And I'm also invested in a bunch of humanoid robotic startups privately. And so, like, if I believe in that industry, at some point, I have to also put my money where my mouth is in the public markets. If I believe Tesla's going to win when it comes to Optimus, and I think they will. I think Figure and Apptronik are going to do well, but I think Tesla's going to have the manufacturing capabilities to actually build millions of robots. The saddest thing to happen over the next 5 years is if Tesla's flat and it has what it had in the previous 5 years. Right? Like the previous 5 years, Tesla's up, but like realistically, it's gone up and down and up and down. It's relatively flat. If you go back to 2019, it's up 20x, right? But it's not really been that amazing of a stock over the past couple of years, especially if you weren't in early. Is that its trajectory the next 5 years? I find that hard to believe, just given how much momentum there is, and given they are the real world manifestation of AI, and they don't have the risks that Google have. Now they have negative earnings growth, unlike Google, but I think that can inflect. And I think the market would appreciate that. SoFi right here, 1825. That's up 6.2%. NVIDIA, 156. Tessie, 321. Palantir, 137. Robinhood, 87.31. Only 11,000 shares at 88 that are waiting on Robinhood. Wow, Duolingo's back, huh? We like languages now. I still don't know why this was down freaking 15% last week, but looks like she's coming back a little bit. I did not use Hive for Figure or Uptronic. I was able to get placements into a special purpose vehicle. So I had some connections and I got in through that. But I think Hive is one of the best platforms if you do want to get access to some of those private names. OpenAI, by the way, I've been seeing float around. OpenAI is still not fully raised their 300 billion or their 40 billion. By the way, SoftBank is thinking of putting in even more money into OpenAI. That was an article that came out over the weekend. So that $40 billion raise at a $300 billion valuation, that is not final yet. And it likely will be final, I think, in the next coming months. But I've seen SPVs floating around on Hive. There's a lot of offers of people saying, hey, like, you can still get into OpenAI at this kind of $300 billion valuation. And, if they close the round, then it's a lot of people that are assuming OpenAI is going to be worth worth trillions of dollars and probably have a multi-trillion-dollar valuation in the future. They're expected to do about 120 billion in revenue by fiscal year 2030. The other thing that's interesting is one of the articles that came out from The Information this week and said that Sam Altman is getting ready to gear up his compensation package or his proposal for compensation packages for their highest researchers. This is a company that lost $5 billion last year. If they're going to be spending even more money and they don't have the unlimited war chest that Meta has in terms of free cash flow to be able to spend on these researchers, they're going to be losing even more money if they're going to have to pay for talent. Robinhood 88. Robinhood 88. My goodness, broke through. It broke through. And so as a result, you're probably going to see OpenAI have to raise a lot more money to be able to pay for all these researchers. Wow, 88. That just broke through. Even Grab 507. Grab 507 getting some love. Well, you know what's better than 88, folks? You know what's better than 88? 89 resistance, 9,000 shares. 9,000 shares. That is not a lot, folks. If the volume comes in, we got about an hour until that event. This could be very exciting. SoFi as well, 1850. Let me check SoFi 19 resistance. Let me check SoFi 19. Let's see. Wow, both of these guys just having a great day. SoFi 19, 83,000. 83,000 shares. 83,000. Oh my gosh, this is pretty incredible. Robinhood right here. I mean, it kind of seems inevitable, like it wants 100. I don't know when it's happening, but it does seem like it wants it. Palantir 137, Tesla 322, Grab right here 509. All right, Grab's having a little bit of fun. I am not going to get overly excited about this. I just want to see a close above 5. That's it. I know you guys should expect me to be more excited about this, but after all the shit I've went through with this one, quite frankly, I don't even want to be excited. I just want to see this one close above 5 and hopefully head to 530. And then after 530, we can evaluate. But this one has been, one that I've had to struggle with a lot this year. So this one, we just got to see if it can hold on. I'm not getting my hopes up on this one, but we got to see if it can hold on. Robinhood right here, 8840. Robinhood 8840. My SoFi leaps rose from the ashes this month. Let me check on my leaps. Put in the chat if you're levered SoFi leaps. If you're levered with SoFi leaps, my leaps today are up 15%. Folks, we are officially up 620% on SoFi. Mr. Anthony Noto, he needs to give us what we're looking for, which is 20. And that would get this 25 to turn into 50. So that would be fun. That would be fun if we can get it. $8 call. Damn, dude. People are levered. My SoFi leaps are printing 1720. All right. A lot of people are in these SoFi leaps. They're doing well. 20 to 25 would really make them print. It would be very nice to see if that can play out. Robinhood right here, 88,410. SoFi 1842, Grab at 510. All three of them having a pretty strong day. NVIDIA right here down 1%. AMD down 1.3. MicroStrategy is actually up 1.8. Baba's down 1.7. Lockheed Martin is flat. Reddit up 5. Reddit above 150. Not bad. And then Amazon down 222. Google as well 177. That is also slightly down as well. Robinhood event is in 1 hour, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Again, dude, I think it's going to be pretty. Like, if I think the announcements are what they're going to be, the market, maybe it doesn't pump even higher than this when they make the announcements because it's pumping before that, but the market's going to realize, holy crap. Like, these guys are really trying to become the Amazon of finance, and they are attacking every vertical, whether it's crypto, brokerage, banking, prediction markets. I mean, it's just, and again, they've got a founder who doesn't care. He's just going to keep going. He's not stopping. And when I was talking about this with a friend over the weekend. It was like when you find these generational companies, again, it's cliche, but you just trust them and you give them the premium. It's the mistake I made on Palantir, not buying in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, no matter how bullish I was. I just got too caught up with valuation and thinking, Palantir, the run is there. And there might not be that much more momentum in it. With Robinhood, I really did not make that mistake. I mean, that is the definition of learning to become a better investor, is not making the same mistake. If you find a generational investment with a generational founder that has the numbers inflecting, the biggest annoying thing about Palantir is the numbers were inflecting, but still I got a little bit too caught up in market cap and valuation without realizing, dude, it's a generational company. You found a unicorn. Trust yourself that you found the unicorn and lean in. And in the worst case, covered calls could protect to some of the premium on the downside, right? If Palantir really did have some epic collapse, which maybe could happen, but seems rather unlikely to me. Robinhood, maybe it could happen, but it also seems unlikely. You just lean into those companies. You really do, because it's so hard to find them. And so with Robinhood, I did not make that mistake. I didn't make that mistake for my family either. I mean, even in the 40s and 50s, buy it. Just kept going because you could see the growth, you could see the vision, and Vlad makes it pretty easy to trust that they're going to keep executing. All right, folks, we are 10 cents away. Are we doing it? 89 is 10,000 shares. Are we doing it? Oh, we did it. We did it. $89 on Robinhood. 89 on the day. I'm leaving the bell for 90. If we see 90, I'm doing the bell. I'm not doing the bell until we see 90. Let's see if we can actually do 90. Let's see if we can do 90. $90 resistance on Hoodie. 13,000 shares, 17,000 shares. It is very possible, in my opinion, that we could see 90 today with this momentum. And SoFi, 1860. SoFi, 8% on the day. My goodness, SoFi. Let me check. Oh, well, SoFi 19. I think we checked already. Let me check again. There is a shot that it could get there as well. Let's see if we can get 90, bro. Let's see if we can get 90 today. It would be pretty incredible. SoFi 19 is 85,000 shares. 85,000. 85,000. That's pretty cool, dude. Congrats, everybody. It's up $5 on the day. So if you own, this is the beauty of capital market. If you own 1,000 shares, you're up $5,000. If you own 2,000 shares, you're up $10,000. If you own 10,000 shares, if you own 10,000, you're up 50,000. Like, this is the beautiful nature of markets. Is like the compounding effect of generational companies and having your capital be allocated in them. I mean, it's pretty damn incredible. And again, it's not like the reason the street is giving Robinhood a bid right here is because they know what they're about to announce is going to be pretty incredible, potentially a game changer for the broader crypto industry. And the market's excited right here. Palantir 137, SoFi 1864, Google goes red. Grab holding on to 505. Again, a $5 close to me would be very bullish for Grab. Meta right here at 743. Amazon 222, and then Elf at 126. Where's Big Bear AI? Big Bear AI, it was up 14, now it's up 12, so still holding that 12% on the day. DoorDash 243, and then Hoodie again 57 right now. Really original. Thank you for the super chat. My Hood calls are now at a 0.91 delta. January 26 $50 price target. What would you recommend amid roll and buy plus 50% as more stocks? Okay, so you got to ask yourself the question: do you want? Well, first of all, are these covered calls or you bought these? I'm imagining you bought these calls. That's why you're putting in the delta right there. If you sold them, you're gonna have to roll, right? Because 50 is you're deeply underwater right here. If you bought them, you got to ask yourself: do you want shares or do you want to take profits on the contracts? So if you believe in the long-term vision, I think exercising them is not crazy. You don't have to exercise them right now. You can wait, another 2 months. You have plenty of time in the contract. You could roll up and out. That's also fair if you think 50 is too conservative, and you can roll up and out for a higher strike. But realistically, flipping the contracts right here, you're going to make a good amount of profit based on when you bought them. And if not, exercising them and just holding the shares, you're making about $38 a share. Exercising at 50, stocks at 88. So I think that's not the worst idea in the world. Again, my philosophy, people have asked, what is your philosophy on exercising contracts? The only contracts I've ever exercised have been on Robinhood. And it's because I just believe in the long-term vision. So exercising them is the same profit as if you were to sell them. So when you sell the contract outright, it's the difference between the strike price and the stock price. So when you exercise them, the difference is also what you're up on the company, on the stock, right? So there's not really a difference there. It's a question of, do you want to hold the shares or do you want to just get the cash and reallocate somewhere else? And if you think Robinhood at 50 is a good deal holding long term, then exercising is not the craziest idea. TTD, where's TTD? That's 73.60. That's up 6%. All right, so that one's getting some love. Let's take a look at the ETF game today and see who is in the lead. I think Matt is still probably winning. Let's pull this up. All right, so Matt's up 13, I'm up 3, Tanner's up 7, Steve is up 2.9, Chris is up 2.5. So it's Matt, Tanner, Amit, Steve, Chris. Matt, Tanner, Amit, Steve, Chris. That is the order currently right now on the ETF. Yes, I know I just said currently right now. You don't have to type CRN in the chat, even though I know you guys are going to do it. But I'm pretty conscious of when I do it at this point. And you know what? I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it, okay? I'm going to keep doing it. Dude, every time. Every time. At least now, if I'm not conscious of doing it, I'll know I did it because we'll get the spam of CRN. This is why I don't wear a watch. I don't wear a watch because the time is always currently right now. So this is why you don't see me wearing a watch. The time is always currently right now. Dude, imagine a CRN token. Dude, goodness, I will never launch a meme coin, but it is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. It is currently, dude. I'm leaning into it. I think like currently right now, bro. Like I think that's my aesthetic, bro. The time is always currently right now. You got to go for it. You got to go for it. Kava's up 8%. Kava, I still haven't tried this. Dude, they opened up a new one like 10 minutes away from my house, but I have not tried them yet. Mediterranean food, these guys up 8%. SoFi 1850, Googs 177, Grab right here at 508. And then AMD, that one's down 142, 142.70. Arnie says Amit's investment firm will be called Currently Holding. That's a good one. That's actually okay. Here's a fun game. If you had to make an investment firm and you had to call it XYZ Capital, put in the chat what you would call it, and then if you want to say what you think I would call my investment firm, put in the chat. So, what would you call your investment firm if you were like managing $1 billion, and what do you think I would call mine? I wonder what Arnie's would call his. We got to see. What do you guys think Arnie's would call his? Arnie's would have to have one of those exciting names. By the way, Arnie might be in New York pretty soon. We might have a little event that we're going to together. So Arnie might be here pretty soon, and you guys will get to see him hopefully on one of these market opens. AK Media Capital. Okay, that's fair. A lot of one that people have mentioned, AK-47 Capital. It's just, I don't know if you're going to attract that much money if you name your capital firm after a gun, but AK-47. Yo, if I ever meet Trump, tell me the caption on that picture is not going to be AK-47. Tell me that wouldn't be one of the greatest captions of all time if I ever take a picture with Trump. AK-47, dude. That's got to be one of the best captions ever, bro. Mayo Investments. Okay, Mayo Investments is probably not going to be a thing. Call it Lose Your Capital. Oh my gosh. Yo, low key, that should be the name for some of these investment firms. Lose Your Capital. It's actually hilarious. Yeah, FBI won't like it. Yeah, that's fair. The FBI probably won't like it. ASTS is down. ASTS taking a little bit of a hit right here. Robinhood still holding 88. ASTS down 4%. Bag Holders Limited. Oh my gosh, dude. I don't think I would ever start an investment fund, bro. That's just a lot of pressure, bro. Even if I think the smallest amount you need to run an investment firm is around 20 million. It depends if you go through a family office or if you raise professional capital, but like realistically, you're talking about 25 million, like, which is a small fund, and 100 million is kind of like the average size. That's just a lot of money, bro. I mean, that's just a lot of pressure to be able to manage that. And it's not even your money. So it's like, whenever you're managing your money, there's always a certain type of feeling you have towards it. You're a bit more emotional, which is actually good in some respects. But with other people's money, it's one of those things. That's why the greats, Bill Ackman, Warren Buffett, they've been able to get as much praise as they get, and they deserve it because it's just really hard to compound. I think Bill Ackman's consistently been like 15 to 20%. Warren Buffett, the same. I mean, it's just Renaissance Capital, Jim Simons, I think he did 30%. Peter Lynch did 29%. Like, it's just hard. It's really, really freaking hard. Yeah, 20 million is the minimum to make a hedge fund operate. And you're not even making a ton on 20 million. You know, you get the 2 and 20 model, but realistically, 20 million is just to prove you can actually manage, and you got to start managing in the hundreds of millions to really make it a profitable endeavor for the fund manager. Chakoti, thank you for the 5 super chats. Started investing 1 year ago and grew 100% with your guidance. Thank you for making such a difference in my life. Thank you for being here. It's really not just me. It's this entire community that is collectively creating due diligence and being here every single day. And, you know, we got the support of a very bullish market with earnings growth that is backing us up. And I think the number one thing I'm proud of is this entire year, we all stayed bullish. Pretty much all of us. I mean, it was easy to go like super bearish and just be like, sell everything. And I know like during the tariffs, everyone was emotional, but I think the one thing I kept saying is that it's okay to be emotional because people are annoyed. I was annoyed. I was down a lot of money. A lot of you guys that have retirement accounts were probably down a lot more money than I was. But acting on those emotions was the wrong thing to do, right? Being emotional, being upset at Trump for the stupid Liberation Day thing, that's whatever. But if you actually acted on it and, you know, sold NVIDIA at 90, that was the wrong thing to do. And the hedge fund managers did that. The hedge fund managers thought the guy on The Apprentice was actually going to tariff Canada by 120%. They believed it. All of us were just upset about it, but we didn't really believe it. I mean, we eventually thought there would be some light, and there was some light relatively soon. In about a couple of weeks, Trump was like, all right, yeah, let's move on from this. And so I think that's the biggest thing for retail. By the way, for those that didn't catch the Sunday Future show last night, retail is back and they are buying the dip. Last week, after a relatively muted month for retail, we got 3.2 billion of retail net purchases, 3.2 billion of stocks over the last 5 days. So retail is starting to come back and gain some more momentum as they deploy capital. Here are the top performing stocks in the S&P 500 this year. NRG Energy is actually number 1. If anyone has ever heard of that one, NRG Energy, that's up 80% for the year. Palantir is up 72.9%. Then you have Howmet, Seagate, GE Vernova, Super Micro is actually up 56%. CVS, NEM, Dollar General, Philip Morris, tobacco company. I didn't even know they own Zyn, but Philip Morris owns Zyn. I didn't know that. I didn't know Zyn was like a brand that Philip Morris owns, but that's a 3% dividend paying company. They're up 50%. Jabil, Netflix up 48%. DoorDash up 44%. Cardinal Health 42.5%. By the way, Palantir has a partnership with Cardinal Health for some of the OGs that remember January 2023. That was one of their biggest healthcare partnerships. And then Constellation Energy, that's up 43.6% over the past 6 months. Now, the worst performing names in the S&P 500, Deckers down 48%, Enphase down 40%, Lululemon down 38%, United Health down 38%, Moderna down 34%, PG&E down 30.6%, Clorox down 25%, Constellation Brands down 26%, Target down 25%, and then Campbell's down 25% as well. UNH is the most attractive out of all these that I think are down, but these are the ones that are the most red. You also have Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, that's down 26.7%. And then you have Edison International, that's down about 34.5%. Let's go to Tom Lee's company, the new one, that is up 299%. If you chased it at 14, you are up about $3. If you chased it at 14, you are up $3. Big Bears, that one's running as well. BBAI, that one is running as well, 17%. So that was at 9% in the morning. That's up another 9% right now, 17. Big Bear AI and BMNR. Those are the runs that are running right now. Evan, you got it at 12? Did you actually buy it, Evan? Did you buy it at 12? Let me know if anyone bought the Tom Lee thing this morning. Again, this is just the question of how much people want to bid up in Ethereum treasury. We saw what happened with SBET, where they bid it up to like, what did this go to? Yeah, to $120. Now it's at $9. I'm not saying the same thing has to happen, but this is just, this is just the nature of when you got to figure out when to get out if you do get into these. That is the number one thing when you've got these running as aggressively as they are. I got in at 11 and left at 16. See, there you go. I mean, even if it runs to 32 or whatever, like you just don't know, right? It can come back down to 11. So for those that are trading it, it is not too bad to deploy a little and make some profit here. How will this impact ETH? It just means they're going to be buying 250 million of ETH. It doesn't mean much, quite frankly. And Ethereum's not reacting to it, which is very weird to me. It's almost like the market is speculating on Tom Lee's Ethereum treasury more than Ethereum cares that Tom Lee raised money to buy more Ethereum. So if this was going to be the thing that gives Ethereum a bid, that's not happening right now. But granted, his larger argument is about the decade-long infrastructure that stablecoins will be building out to support Ethereum's blockchain. That's kind of why you buy Ethereum right now, not really because of Tom Lee. But if you're bullish on Tom Lee in and of himself, then BMNR is the way to get exposure right here. I got in at 11, contemplating an exit now. Yeah, I mean, see, I just don't know where they take it. 1620, it's up 280%. The question becomes, how much juice does it have to go higher? It's a $100 million market cap, incredibly small company, 2 million share float. So could this squeeze even further? Yeah. The question is, at what point do people say, all right, I'm taking my profits? Is it at 16? It's already down from about 1750 to 1620. So you're seeing a little bit of a retracement right there. But that's the hard part when it comes to these. Fear and greed is up to 64. All right. So you're seeing that get to greed. No, 67. We're at 67. We haven't hit extreme greed all year. I would imagine we would eventually get there. But so far, we're not. So far, we are not. By the way, we're only 5% away from S&P 500 all-time highs. Or not all-time highs, 6,500 on the S&P, which has kind of been a lot of the street targets. So the next 5% move is going to be massive. It's either going to be down or up. JP Morgan thinks it's going to go back down to 6,000. I don't think that's crazy. You know, that would be a great opportunity for a lot of funds to allocate more capital. But the question is if we need to go down that much. And sometimes it's hard to see it. I mean, when you got stuff like this happening, there is a new video of Google with their Aptronic robot. As you can see right there, they put out a new video of one of their robots autonomously opening a lunch bag and then putting in different things into that lunch bag. This is the type of innovation and new industries that's just hard to be faded by the broader markets. And we're seeing it happen in real time. As a result, the market's giving a bid. Robinhood right here, 88.40, Palantir 137, Tessie 320, and NVIDIA 156. ASTS, are we dumping? ASTS, she is, I would say, dumping, down 5%. Now, again, this thing was 25 a month ago. Can't be too upset. This one is giving back a little bit of its run. Reddit 152. Reddit, very high beta. I mean, if we head into ultra bullish market and Reddit has the earnings to support it, you know, Reddit's one of those names that can get very crazy right here. It got to 230 at one point in February. It's one of the only names that hasn't recovered back to its highs since that time. AppLovin kind of got there for a little bit, then came back down. But Reddit right here, 152. Also, yes, we do have July 4th this week, which means Friday, it's a half day for trading. It's a half day. So we will have a smaller trading week on Friday. Where's SoFi? SoFi still 1840. Grab holding on to that 509 area. Amazon 220. Reddit 152. And then NVIDIA 156. Oh, we're closed on Friday? I don't know. Oh, you're right. Thursday's a half day. We're closed on Friday. You're right. Okay, so it's a half day on Thursday and then we're closed. Yeah, so it is 4-day trading week. That is fair. Oh, we got Bessent live. Let's see what he has to say. Pull this up. Here is Mr.
About interest rates and the Federal Reserve. It has been recently reported that you might be in consideration for the job as the next Fed chair. When you've been asked about the likelihood recently, you said that it's up to the president. Is it a job that you would want?
I will do what the president wants, but I think I have the best job in D.C. We're making a lot of progress with the president's leadership. You know, think about it. We are going to have the tax bill on his desk by July 4th. We're going to be wrapping up the trade talks. So I think we had great momentum, and we will be working on Chair Powell's successor over the coming weeks and months.
You had mentioned that an announcement could be as early as October or November, and Powell's term ends in May of 2026. How is the street supposed to navigate between that announcement time and the time between the term being over for Chair Powell? You were the one, I want to remind people, that had brought up the idea of a shadow Fed chair prior to the election. is a new appointee supposed to be considered that shadow Fed chair?
Well, not necessarily. We'll see. There's a seat opening up, a 14-year seat opening up in January. So we've given thought to the idea that perhaps that person would go on to become the chair when Jay Powell leaves in May, or we could appoint the new chair in May. Unfortunately, that's just a 2-year seat.
So ultimately, do you think that there could be some confusion?
Well, I don't see why there would be confusion because, obviously there are people who are currently at the Fed who are under consideration. So why would there be confusion if that you add another candidate in January?
So what about Fed policy as it stands today? The president has voiced his preference for lower interest rates. There have been investors, but also most recently the Bank of International Settlements warning about any inflation risks tied to the tariff policy. Realistically, how much can the Fed lower rates this year? And what is the level and rate of unemployment that would suggest a faster pace of rate cuts? Economically, what has to slow?
Well, look, I said during my confirmation, I won't talk about the mistakes the Fed's going to make. I'll only talk about the ones they have made. They made a gigantic mistake in 2022. And as I like to point out, medical studies have shown that people who fall tend to look at their feet, which makes them fall more. And my worry here is that having fallen down on the American people in 2022, Fed's now looking at their feet. We have seen no inflation from tariffs. If we do, which we don't have to, then there'd be a one-time price adjustment. Nothing is more transitory than that. So, Team Transitory, having failed the American people in 22, they seem a little frozen at at the wheel here.
All right, so pretty much the same stuff that Bessent has been saying in regards to how he thinks of the Fed chair. I don't think he'll be the new Fed. I think he might. I do think that, Trump's going to want to keep him as Treasury Secretary, but whoever they pick is going to be bullish. Like, we know that. So from that perspective, regardless of who's the new Fed chair, I do think they're going to be implementing a policy of lower rates, and they're going to have the support of Treasury demand from stablecoins and banks that are going to be able to have better SLRs, supplementary leverage ratios, to be able to allocate more of their balance sheet towards Treasuries. And that should theoretically help us refinance our debt by getting lower yields. Question is going to be, how long is that going to take? But I think in the next 12 months, that is possible. Pound to right here, 136. Tessie goes below 320. Tessie goes below 320. Let's do a poll right here in the chat on Tesla. Tesla pump or dump on deliveries. I spelled deliveries wrong, but don't worry. I'm just typing fast. Tesla pump or dump on deliveries. What do we think? What do we think? I think the projection, what's the market projection again? I think it's 400,000 or something. Let me try to see if I can get the exact numbers. The market's expecting 390. Okay, so market's expecting 390. So if they come in meaningfully below 390, that's going to be what we have to think about. Yeah, 390K. That's the only reason Tesla's down, in my opinion. I mean, as the market's having momentum, I think the only reason Tesla's down today, and it's kind of been the robotaxi stuff got sold off after it pumped to like 360, is because people are now afraid of deliveries, which is the nature of the volatility of Tesla. SoFi right here, 1865. It's like you could have so much bullish momentum towards, hey, this is the future, AI, yada, yada. And then the reality of, well, wait a second, they're not growing. You're betting on future growth. How much money continues to want to bet on future growth? And $1 trillion of it wants to, but how much more than $1 trillion, right? Like, because to get to 400, 500, you're looking at, that 1.7, $1.8 trillion market cap. And right now that's just not there. So I think this delivery reaction is going to be pretty important to see if Tesla can do it twice in a row where deliveries are going to matter maybe for a day, but then kind of not care. Actual expectations are 350, 360. Last time, what was it? Last time they missed by like 20% or something. Last time it was 337 and the street wanted like 370, 365. So it was a pretty aggressive miss. But I also feel like it should be priced in. Like, for the past couple months, everyone's been saying that Tesla deliveries are going to be bad. So it's not like this is a surprise right here. Thanks again for the Lemonade deep dive. Researched the company a little bit more on my own and bought some Lemonade today. Let's see. Where is Lemonade right here? The stock up about 0.5%. Yeah, look, I like the company. I'm not buying the stock, but I can't buy every single stock for the deep dives that we do, but I do like them. I personally didn't love that the only kind of differentiating feature on this company was AI-oriented insurance, but that doesn't mean it's a bad company. And a $3 billion market cap in the next 10 years, I think that's probably going to be bigger than what it is today. So if you're buying it as long-term hold, it doesn't seem like they're necessarily in a bad position by any means. They're not profitable. Eventually that'll change. I just, it wasn't the most exciting from an insurance perspective, but I like it. And, hopefully we can see more momentum. And again, they do have a big cult, like a massive cult. So you got a lot of people that believe in Lemonade. Tesla's easily going sub 200 within the next few months. Dude, I don't see that. I think it's just going to be hard for this thing with as much momentum as we're like, if Tesla goes below 200 and the S&P is at 6,500, that would be astonishing to me. I mean, it would just like, first of all, it would give every investor the opportunity to buy a lot of Tesla. If you kind of believe in that thesis, I would probably sell some stocks if we see below 200 to get there, to allocate more. But I don't see that happening. I just think there's too many people that are going to buy this dip, even if it goes to 270, 250, which I don't even see that realistically happening. At least not without some real catalyst, like some horrendous earnings, which even that, like Q1 was horrendous and still, was able to pull forward. And so I don't know, with robotaxis now at least on the road, I think there's going to be more momentum with this. Below 200 is just going to be tough to see, bro. In my opinion, it's going to be tough. Big Bear AI, that one's still running. Are we about to hit 7? It's looking, there you go. There's 7. Again, 750. That was the call option that's getting bid up. So that is what the target traders have going for. Up 20% of the day. If that is a similar target to you, then that is where Big Bear AI theoretically could be headed. Again, the thing about this is it's very small. It's a $2 billion company and there's 300 million shares outstanding. So just as a pure momentum play, I mean, this could squeeze. Just like Zeta as well. Zeta, this one's up 7% as well. This one has a short float. SoundHound has a high short float. That's up 7%. It's another one with a high short float that I'm thinking of. Well, obviously SoFi. I mean, SoFi, dude, 150 million shares are still shorted on SoFi. 1880 right here, 85,000 shares sitting at 19. So, that we don't talk about SoFi's short float enough. That could be part of the reason why it's pumping right here. If investors are just like, all right, we're done playing with this thing. We're going to cover a short and we're getting out of here. SoFi, again, let me make sure we have the 85,000 shares. It might be a little bit more, it might be less. 19 now is 109,000. All right. So it's gone up. That's what we got to get through to get above 19. Ragman, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a channel member. 52-week high on SoFi, 1883. Who do you think is buying TikTok? I have no idea, but I think Oracle's part of it. I imagine it would be a group of private investors, though. Probably a ton of funds that want to get access to it. And Oracle's probably putting in a bid. A lot of people have said Walmart and Microsoft. Maybe they're part of that bid, but I would think Oracle's there. And then you would get a group of VCs and private equity, most likely. SoFi, 1881. Is Rumble moving at all today? Rumble, this is the YouTube competitor. That one's up about 1.5. Tessie still goes red, 317. NVIDIA back to 157. Robinhood trying to make its way back to 88. S&P 616 and SoFi 1882. Google 177. Grab $5 close is what I'm looking for today, 503. Reddit 153 and then AMD 142. David Sachs is absolutely getting some TikTok. Yeah, I mean, I could imagine you got some of these guys. I mean, it's an incredible asset. It's an incredible asset that everyone can't ignore, even if you may philosophically not agree with its approach. But it is an asset that's going to attract a lot of bidders. Here's the Olin guys on Friday talking about their Robinhood Gold Card.
Did you get the? Did you follow up with the guys from Robinhood to get the Gold Card?
You didn't get a Gold Card yet?
Well,
What
he
is
was
that
the only
for?
one. Vlad texted me and said,
yeah,
"Hey,
I got one.
Freeberg's he's the only
Gold
bestie
Card
without
is
it."
amazing.
So I
He's the
said,
only-
"David, get one."
Absolutely.
This
Your
is
invite got
beautiful.
lost in the mail.
You
It's
know,
so
this
gorgeous.
gold card.
Oh, look, I
this-
have mine here. Here, I have
Yeah.
mine.
But you know
Mine's
where
over
this
there.
came from? This came from
Look at
the
mine.
Xbox
Startup I
card,
created.
the
Okay.
startup that I funded that got acquired by Robinhood. So those guys did a
So
great
now
job.
you got double Robinhood shares. You got it
Yeah.
from that
Shout
and
out
from Launchpad
Deepak
Volume.
and Sid. Great job.
So you got the Olin guys showing some love right here to Robinhood. SoFi, she is trying, folks. She is trying. 1887. We got to ring the bell at 19 for SoFi. We got to ring it if we get there. She is absolutely trying. Momentum is strong, up 9.8%. We got to see BMNR up 350%. All right, so if you bought at 17, congrats. They're up $2. I mean, dude, sometimes you get a pump, and you get a pump that is pretty aggressive. And that's the pump that we're seeing right now, 350. So now the question is 1950 going to turn into 2150? I mean, who knows? Who freaking knows? BMNR right there, 1961, continuing to show some. I don't think they would dilute today. I don't think Tom Lee would go that route. I mean, maybe they could dilute based on this. They already raised enough money for the Ethereum treasury, so I don't think they would. But to be honest, why not, right? Like Saylor has been diluting for 5 years to be able to buy more Bitcoin. Eventually, you have to dilute to get more money to buy Ethereum or whatever asset you're buying in the treasuries. And I know Saylor's come up with a lot of creative ways. By the way, he did buy more Bitcoin today, but still, wouldn't be crazy if they do that today. Saylor bought 4,980 Bitcoin at 106,000 for 531 million. So Saylor continues to buy. 1885 on SoFi. 1885 on SoFi. My average cost is basically on the options 720. So the option is, I paid 35 cents for it. It's now worth 255. So it's up about 630%. And if we get 20, then that would kind of complete the trajectory that I'm looking for here. 1878 right here. This is why, even in the midst of me being skeptical of a lot of things around SoFi this year, I've held my options because first of all, it's ridiculously asymmetric. 2, you can acknowledge a company may not have the best execution, but still is ridiculously undervalued. And although SoFi's operating margins are not amazing, they're growing top line 30%. And most financial institutions are just not doing that. And so that alone, I think, gives them a bid. The question just becomes, how many people want to be invested in that story? But I think the stablecoin narrative really has changed what people are thinking about when it comes to SoFi as a true technology payments provider, which is very bullish for just their trajectory of the perception of SoFi. And then you've got rate cuts. You put those two together, it's relatively easy to say this thing probably can go higher. And so right here, 9% of the day is not bad for SoFi. Oracle are they still pumping? Oracle was up 7%. They are up 5%. So chilling out a little bit. Up 5% right here. I'm not selling immediately. So I would sell in. So the contracts expire in January 2026. So to get the full value, I would sell them closer to the second week of January to get that full 50,000. SoFi, ironically, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of SoFi, the company itself, it would be my best return in the stock market. It would be a 1,400% return if Noto can give me 20 by January 2026. It would this stock would literally be my best return ever in the market. So I think it's very possible. I think there's momentum there. We got till the end of the year to make this happen. SoFi right here, 1892, up 10%. All right, folks, here's the moment. This is where it's got to push. This is where it's got to push. And then you got the 10-year. You got the 10-year right there, 4.26. That's only even more bullish as we get yields to come down. That is, the 10 years, we were freaking out about bonds for the past 2 months. They are starting to chillax. I think the reason they're starting to chill is because of a lot of the stablecoin stuff that's giving the market hope that there's going to be a bidder on treasuries pretty soon, along with banks and their ability to buy more due to supplementary leverage ratios being changed. So from that perspective, you do have yields coming down, which are great for the equity markets as well. Is HIMS moving? HIMS, that's flat. HIMS is flat. Was at 53. That's flat. Nvidia 157. Can we talk about Nvidia, bro? Nvidia's just been a monster, and I don't think Nvidia is slowing down. I think a lot of these funds are recognizing they need to be in some blue chip AI names, and the biggest one is NVIDIA. And it's one of those things that's probably not going to be slowing down. Big Bear AI, is that still running? That's down. Okay, so it was at 7, now it's at 691. So a little bit of a red candle right there, but basically still at all-time highs, or at 52, not at 52 guys, at intraday highs. 52 guy was 1036, which given its momentum, dude, I mean, there's a shot it can break through. It's just, it'll probably see a little bit more resistance around 758 bucks, but still up 18% of the day. NVIDIA 157, Tessie 320, Palantir 137, Robinhood 87.10, and then SoFi right here. It's fighting for 19, got to 1892, and then got hit. BMNR is 20. Yeah, I mean that one. Dude, that's up 400%. Like, look, yeah, 1950 to 21. There you go. Like, the thing about it is Tom Lee is the one who's endorsing it. And Tom Lee is just an incredible brand. A lot of people like betting on him. So when it comes to, and he's, he's on media all the time. He can articulate his thoughts about Ethereum. Like, he can get people to believe in what he sees. And so that's enough, I think, also to get the market excited. App Lovin', is that green? App Lovin', 359. That's up 7. Wow. Okay, that one's getting some love. SMCI 50. I know a lot of you guys are happy about that. That's up 5%. And then Bitcoin 107. We got about 20 minutes until the Robinhood event. We got 20 minutes until the Robinhood event. And so we will transition and see what Robinhood shows up. They got halted. Okay, that's a good halt, though. That's a good halt if they got halted. I mean, unless it dumps after the halt, then you might just have this gap up even further. BMNR, 400%. Alt market cap still 133 million. So you do have some more people that could be coming in. Let's get some thoughts from Adam Parker. We got about 20 minutes again until the market opens. I'll keep an eye on SoFi and see if we can crack through 19. And then we'll keep going from there.
Costs of it. Right. If it's another 10% in the second half of the year, does that scream something's wrong? Is something already suggesting that something's wrong or not?
You know, it's funny. I listened to your macro conversation up front, and then I looked at your screen and it said record highs for S&P and NASDAQ. So when you talk to institutional investors all day, they're not really day-to-day concerned with it. I think it's the most consensus macro trade out there that the dollar will keep weakening. I think everybody believes that.
That means it won't.
And, that's the part that worries me a little bit is now, everyone believes it. I think there's offsets, as you point out. I mean, David just mentioned, look, if you get a commensurate loss in unit demand, that's bad. But all else equal, of course, a weakening dollar helps U.S. multinationals' earnings, all else equal. So the question is, do they change their patterns in spending or not? If they don't, select industrials, pharma, tech, staples have a bit of an earnings, tailwind in the second half of the year or into next year that you'll start hearing companies talk about a little bit. So to me, equities are about margins expanding, and anything that makes me think on the margin they can go up, it makes me more optimistic, and that's certainly coming up. But the weakening dollar.
All right, we got Kevin Hasset. Let's see what he has to say. By the way, I meant to say till the hood event, not till the market opens. But yes, I guess I want to ring the bell again for the market open. I meant till the hood event. Here's Hasset. Let's see if he can give us any updates on this big, beautiful bill and what it also means for potential trade deals that are coming up.
Are allowed to amend the bill any way they want, and then almost always the amendments get voted down, and that goes on for hours and hours, and then eventually they kind of get tired of it, and usually at some point they even close the doors, lock people in the room, and say, okay, we got to get to a vote. I've got a bunch of people at my staff that are career Senate people, and we did a little poll today of when we think that the final vote will happen, and everybody was between 11 o'clock and midnight tonight. We think that it'll pass the Senate.
Okay. We'll see if your folks are right.
Yeah,
TBO says that the Senate bill increases the deficit by $3.3 trillion from 2025 to 2034, and that is $1 trillion more than the House bill. There were already concerns about the deficit in this bill. Do you disagree with those numbers?
Oh, I 100% disagree with those numbers. You remember that in the House bill, there were a bunch of things that were temporary that were there for the first 4 or 5 years, but then looked like they raised money in the out years. But of course, a big tax hike in the 5th year is going to cause a recession and reduce growth and increase the deficit. The number that I think is the best number to think about when you're looking at that 3.3 trillion is that if we get 3% growth instead of 1.8% growth out of this bill, then that adds 4 trillion to revenue, which means that this thing is a big deficit reducer. This is the biggest spending cut in history, the biggest tax cut in history, and with a little bit of growth, it's going to be incredibly positive for the budget. And finally, don't forget, this isn't the only bite of the apple, that we've got lots of discretionary spending that we're planning to send up to the Senate to rescind. Russ Vogt, the OMB director, suggests that maybe that's going to amount to about 160 billion this year. If you get the 160 billion of rescissions, then multiply that by 10 to think about what the deficit impact is. And so this is a very fiscally responsible bill.
So it does rely, though, on the economy moving up to 3% growth. Why are you confident that this bill does that when, I mean, it is mostly an extension of the taxes?
Well, there are a heck of a lot of, first of all, you have to compare it to what's the baseline, right? So if we have the biggest tax hike in history and we go back to not expensing capital machinery and so on, then what is that growth effect? That's a really big negative. And then there's all this new stuff that's very, very growth positive. So, for example, no tax on overtime. We've got about 90 million American workers that are hourly workers. When they don't have to pay tax on their overtime, then they're likely to work harder. That increases supply, puts more money in their pockets. The Council of Economic Advisors has modeled all these things and says that income for the typical American family is going to go up by $10,000. So that's real income. So this is a very, very growth positive, income positive bill.
Director Hasset, a lot of concern on the part of not just independent power producers and or solar and wind, but all the electricity companies that are going to be relied on to power the AI surge going on in this country. We're seeing demands for electricity that we've not seen in quite some time. And yet the Senate bill not only rolls back the tax incentives in solar and wind, but it also adds what I would call a tax, essentially. Does the administration support that, given that it may shut off a very important component of our industry or our electricity infrastructure?
To be sure, we're 100% behind the work of Doug Burgum and Chris Wright and the National Energy Dominance Council. We're using all of the above approaches to get energy production to go through the roof in order to, as you say, support AI and other things in the country. And that means using coal, using natural gas, using oil, using nuclear, and to the extent that it passes a market test, then these other solar and wind type things can be part of the picture too. But
solar
the problem is that the grid. But the grid needs to be reliable, right? And the grid hasn't been super reliable. And in other countries, you can see that the grid problems have been really severe in Spain, in Germany.
All right, so not getting anything too crazy from Hasset in terms of deals. Obviously, we're going to have to see when we get this big, beautiful bill passed. Do we get it by July 4th? I don't know. I mean, I think there's a shot. We got about 5 days left to really get this final vote in. Maybe they pull it off. But if they don't, it'll probably happen, soon after July 4th. SoFi right here, 1880. It's just that is Independence Day. So Trump would really want that one to play out. Oklo is red. Oklo is red. So Oklo's red. Some of the other nuclear names are also down. Nano Nuclear, that one is down. SMR, that one is up a little bit. 1.5. Robinhood, 8747. We're going to see, bro. Can we crack 90 off this event? We're going to see if we can. It would be pretty awesome if that can play out. Robinhood right here, 87.55. Okay, where is Enphase? Because that one also, a lot of the solar names still got hit. Yeah, that's down 2%. So I think the senators are not going to be passing a bill anytime soon, or an amendment to the new bill that fixes what's going on with solar. Oh, one of the reasons why now I remember one of the reasons why Tesla's down. Over the weekend, I forgot about this. The $7,500 tax credit became more and more. It became more prevalent that the $7,500 tax credit was going away. So based on this new bill, that's probably why Elon was upset about the bill over the weekend. even though I don't think it's going to change much. But yeah, here you go. So U.S. Senate Republicans have just released a revised version of Trump's tax cut and spending bill that would now end the $7,500 EV tax credit for the new electric vehicle sales on September 30th, 2025. That means, look, if you want a Tesla in the United States, you probably should buy it soon. I mean, I would not have bought myself a Tesla. I would have not bought my dad a Tesla if we did not get that $7,500 tax credit. I mean, it just really made it easier to afford it. So yeah, I think I mean, it's just one of those things where, is that going to meaningfully decline sales for Tesla? I mean, maybe. I think to an extent there are going to be people that just choose not to buy it if they don't have that tax credit. Now, granted, will it be an insignificant level of reductions, which overall the street can look forward past if robotaxi still becomes the defining narrative? Probably, but still, that's not bullish. And I think Elon's upset about that. Now, Elon has said in the past he doesn't care about the $7,500 tax credit, but the problem is the new Senate bill still includes the oil and gas subsidies. So he's still upset that, why are oil companies able to get something free from the government, but Tesla doesn't. I also think, and I don't fully understand this, but the carbon credits that the government gives out when Ford sells, ICE vehicles, they have to pay Tesla. They have to buy credits from Tesla to deal with the environmental regulations, right? Because that's how Tesla makes some of their money. In fact, I think one of the reasons why Tesla was profitable last quarter is because they got so many carbon credits from other companies buying it from them. I think that is also reduced to an extent. I'm not fully sure on that. I have to read more into the bill, but I think that's another reason the street's like, all right, we know that their numbers suck, but now if the amount of money they're going to be able to get from carbon credits, which has really been keeping them net income positive, if that goes down as well, that could be something that's not the best for Tesla. Now, granted, it might create an incredible opportunity for everybody else, but still, that could be why the narrative on Tesla right now is getting a little hit. Amit, if you had November 90 CCs on Hood, would you roll when it hits 90 or wait until closer to November, maybe like 2 months out? I would wait until you get to your break even. So if you got paid, $5, I would wait till you get to 95. And then, I would rate when it's healthily above your break even. So 97, 98, if your break even is 95, if your break even is 92, I would wait for like 94, 95. Ultimately, what I think about what's going on with Hood right now is that if it's becoming a parabolic move, then you get the hell out of the way, right? And you roll those covered calls as soon as possible and give it enough breathing room, even if you have to pay a little bit of a debit. Now, the nuance here is that it could be a parabolic move that's not going to happen in the time frame that you think it's going to happen. And so there's a way you can play the volatility, but also one could argue it's already been parabolic. It's up 130% year to date. And so maybe it caps out at 110, 120, 100, 95. Maybe it's not going to like 150, but no one knows, right? And so I think I would be on the safe side and just give yourself a lot more room, a lot more time, let it kind of play out. Again, you should not be worried about covered call income when a stock is going parabolic. This is the mistake a lot of people made on Palantir, right? When it was going, and so you don't always know when it goes parabolic. So it is what it is, right? You kind of have to deal with taking the risk there. But if you have an inclination that it's ready to go parabolic, you get out of the way because the stock appreciation will make more for you than the covered call income ever will. And Robinhood, to its credit, was flat for the majority of the year until it finally went on its run over the past 2 months. And so that's where it's been, more productive to just own the name. But I also think, 100, 115 is not crazy. I mean, do we really get above that? Maybe. I think, look, if we get to 100 before S&P inclusion, then all bets are off the table because then the street has to buy it at $100. If it stays at like 85, 90-ish, and then we get S&P inclusion, maybe we pump to 105, 110, and I think that's kind of how it ends out the year. Obviously, Q3, Q4 still has to put up really strong earnings growth. And that's kind of how I see the trajectory. I don't see it at 150 or even 130. Like, I don't see those numbers by the end of the year. But 100, I do see. I mean, I think the catalysts are becoming more than obvious at this point. Now, granted, S&P takes a 5% drop. Robinhood goes back to 70. And that is something, if you look at every chart post-election year, we've seen it many times, August is weak. And September is really weak. But then October, November, December, you get your Santa Claus rally. So that is also where your covered calls can kind of benefit if August and September ends up being kind of weak. Yeah, Kraken launched tokenized stocks. What else launched tokenized stocks? Coinbase is launching tokenized stocks. I mean, dude, tokenized stocks are going to be a massive industry. I invested in a startup, Mateo. His company is going to be doing tokenized stocks. Like, it's going to be a massive market. The question is going to be who has the best experience and who has the best unit economics. And today, in about 10 minutes, we're going to see what Robinhood introduces to see if they can become a major player for tokenized stocks. And then staking, stablecoins. I mean, a lot of stuff today is going to be what we have to see. 91 Hood expiring 7.3. Do you think those are safe? I think those will be okay. I mean, look, even if it is 7.3 is what, 5 days? It's the end of this week. Like, even if it gets to 93, 94, 95 by the end of this week, you can roll that for next week or for a month out to like 100, right? Or to 115, or 2 months out. Or you can just roll it out next week to 91 and kind of keep it at that level and see how the stock trades. So, yeah, I think you only should worry this week if you're at like a $75 or an $80 call. You know, if you're that deep underwater already, then you should be thinking of navigating. If you're like at 90, 95, I think you're all right. Oh, there he is. He was listening, Mr. Mateo. He is the CEO and founder that I invested in for his startup GTE Exchange. And again, like we've had conversations about how he's going to compete with Robinhood and Coinbase. And the reason I invested is because I think they have a really interesting way of philosophically thinking about an exchange. There's this company right here, GTE.YXC or XYZ. But also, they're navigating the architecture and database on how they're building this thing to be very different. And, he's really taking an approach from Palantir in terms of how do you get multiple databases to speak to each other into a product like this. But look, a lot of people are going after it. A lot of people are going, and that's why I think it's not going to be a winner takes all. I think there's going to be a massive market, a massive, massive market. Hood, Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, GTE, thousands of different DEX exchanges. Like, there's going to be so many people trying to go for this. The question is just going to become, which one has the best experience. I can stake Solana on Hood as of now. Yes, that's in Europe, right? I believe in Europe they allow it. I think today they're going to announce Ethereum staking. I think they're going to announce a lot of different things today that we're going to see. Can you stake XRP? I don't know. I think you can. Big Bear AI breaking 7. Steve was hilarious last night. Big Bear AI up 21%. Steve said, my exit plan for XRP is to sell 20% at 100 and then 20% at 500 and then leave the rest. I was like, okay, Steve, whatever. Maybe it happens. BMNR, by the way, unhalted 450%. The unhalted, or it was halted due to too many buy orders, not sell orders. And it continues its run. It continues its run. Soundhound up 10%. Yeah, that one's getting a lot of love right here as well. The event's in 10 minutes. Do they have the live stream up yet? Let me see. They probably have the live stream. Let me pull it up right here. Yeah, there you go. All right. Starting soon. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. This is going to be very fun, dude. This is going to be cool. We are really going to see Robinhood mature into a legitimate crypto company today. SoFi right here, 1868. And if they can pull it off, then I think the market's going to be excited. Think the market is going to be excited. By the way, this was Vlad yesterday on a new podcast speaking about how big he thinks the opportunity is right now in crypto.
I think if I talk turn into real products that customers can use, and I think there's two benefits really. One is, in much like stablecoin is making it easier for people outside the US to get exposure to US dollars, tokenized securities will make it easier for people outside the US to get access to US securities. Over the past few years, stablecoin transaction volumes have just skyrocketed overseas. And a lot of it is driven by people from developing countries whose currencies are losing value rapidly. So these types of folks used to hoard American Express travelers checks, right? They would just take their local currency, figure out whatever way they could to put it into dollars or dollar proxies. And so stablecoin has just kind of subsumed that. Hundreds of millions of people around the world have crypto wallets. They can already access exchanges. So when stablecoins actually made headway there, they were adopted very rapidly. So I think it's going to be huge for people outside the US. I think it's going to be great for companies to have access to this new, increasingly global pool of capital, and great for entrepreneurs. If we can make it easier for people to raise primary capital through crypto, it could unlock a ton of innovation in this country. So I think it's an important thing to pursue. I think it'll also do a lot to silence the skeptics. A lot of people think crypto is just Bitcoin and memes, and those are powerful things, but I think it's also going to be incredibly powerful to unlock the technology and have it power more and more of traditional financial services. And I think crypto securities are actually this big opportunity. I mean, multiple trillions that's just in plain sight.
Multiple trillions that's just in plain sight. I mean, if he's going after it and he's taking us on the journey, it is going to be very, very, very exciting to see how this plays out. So it's going to be fun. John, thank you for the $5 super chat. Can anything actually bring this market down? Seems crazy resilient. PS, my top two positions are Hood and NVIDIA. Thanks to you, John. Congrats on the success this year with Hood and NVIDIA. You know, Steve and I spent 30 minutes, Rob and I right here, 88, talking about bear cases. If you go to the chapters in yesterday's futures show, it's called Bear Cases. And we talked for a good 30 to 45 minutes on what are the bear cases. And the only ones that we really concluded that are meaningful outside of a black swan event are unemployment rising, which has steadily been rising, but not to the point where it's like super dramatic. And as a result, you know, I mean, if unemployment is the only bear case, the question is, can the Trump administration make sure to keep unemployment stable? Obviously, inflation being sticky is a bear. I mean, the Fed thinks the bear case is that tariff inflation we have not seen yet, and it is going to be dramatic towards the latter half of the year. I don't know. I don't know if we see that. Trump obviously thinks we're not going to see that, and that would be a hindrance to cutting. But if that's not the case, then I don't think that's something we have to really get that afraid about. Dan Niles, who's been kind of bearish this year, kind of not bearish, he put a long mid-year update, and at the end of his post, here's what he said. In the near term, I plan to enjoy the ride to all-time highs in the market driven by solid Q2 earnings and investors not focused on high valuations given expectations of a more accommodative Fed, but maybe I have lost my mind. He also said, I can easily see a 10 to 20% correction in the S&P starting as we approach Thanksgiving, but this is a potential problem for another day. I mean, if we see a recession by Santa Claus rally time because of the pull forward of demand and the tariff inflation, that would be a massive just like pivot in the markets. I don't think anyone's expecting that. I mean, I think people are expecting that, but that's not like the base case for a lot of the analysts in terms of how they're thinking of it. I don't see 10% drawdown, no Santa Claus rally, tariff inflation so sticky that the Fed has to not only pause cuts, potentially think of hiking, because that's essentially what he's alluding to. I don't know if we see that. I don't think Trump would fight really hard to make sure that doesn't happen. I see more growth with the big, beautiful bill, even if it increases our deficit. I see rate cuts coming. I see a shadow Fed soon, so the market's going to ignore the current state of the Fed, or at least not think of it that seriously. I see earnings growth continuing to be robust. I see $7 trillion on the sidelines that eventually is going to get deployed. I see risk appetite in the equity markets that, although is a little annoying in terms of some of the names that are getting a bid because it feels frothy, a lot of names have plenty of room, like a Google, to continue getting some momentum. And I see a new retail investor that, again, simply is not trusting the financial advisors to manage their capital. They are deploying their own money. And retail has had a very good run for the past 5 years. Obviously, the past couple of months, retail has won against the hedge funds and really trusted buying the dip makes sense. And so buying the dip continues to be the philosophy, which, again, people say, oh, buying the dip will work until it doesn't work. Well, what's the reason why it wouldn't work? There would have to be some catalyst. There would have to be some crazy liberation day or some dramatic decline in earnings. Like, until you point to the catalyst, buying the dip tends to work, because as equity prices go down and you have more attractive valuations, as companies grow their earnings, those valuations mature into share appreciation. And so from that perspective, it does seem like there is a bid on this market that could be coming in. All right, we got a couple minutes. Until Robinhood starts. 3 minutes left. We're going to see what they say. Again, Robinhood already getting a little bit of a bid. It could dump. It could be a sell the news. Markets say, you know what? We like it, but we don't like it that much. Or it could be something where markets are ready to take it much higher, up 5.85%. And so we're going to see S&P 500 right here at 616.01, Google 176, SoFi 1867, Grab at 510. It hit 510 like 5 times today. Let's see if we can hold on to that $5 level. Meta right here, 741, Tesla 321, Palantir 137, and then Hoodie 87.86. Currently right now. See, like it's a way for me to transition from sentence to sentence. That is why currently right now has become my thing. Like you see how natural it is, even though I'm starting to recognize that it's natural. It just allows me to move from sentence to sentence currently right now. Dude, it's a thing. CRN. It flows off the tongue. Yeah, it's my news reporter phrase. It's like it's how I. What do you mean it's not really that natural? It is very natural to go from like, well, Robinhood's at 87.90 currently right now. There it is. That's how we say it. All right, 2 minutes. I'm gonna leave it on this screen. In 2 minutes, we are starting what I think is gonna be the biggest event in Hood's history. This is gonna be important. This is going to be important. We'd all be disappointed if currently right now disappeared. You never know though. I have a lot of phrases that, I like writ large. I was on that for a good 5 months and then I kind of like left that phrase. You never know. Some of these phrases might disappear. But currently right now is the phrase currently right now, So that's what we got. All right. 1 more minute. 1 more minute. Here we go. I think it's an hour-long event. Tanner's going to call in, and I'm going to call into his stream after the event. So Tanner will be on in probably an hour, and we will get thoughts, and then we'll see what they have to say. You also say shit like more, quicker, and more large. Okay, I do that a lot, dude. I say the more with the ER so many times. It's kind of ridiculous. But yes, I am wrong on the grammar. Is Chris in the chat? Chris, if you want to join, I'll send you a link. I didn't even see Chris in the chat. If you want to join to watch the thing with me, I'll send you a link right now. I'll send you a link currently right now, and we can hop on. Oh, I'm just seeing Chris right here in the chat. All right, Chris, if you want to hop on, let me send you a link. You can pop in, and we can analyze this at the end as well. All right, here we go. We are starting.
Real estate? Is that what they're doing now?
Whatever they're doing, there he is. Look at that man.
Welcome to the French Riviera and the historic Chateau de la Croix des Gardes. It's hot out here, isn't it? You guys staying cool? All right, don't worry. You can unbutton a little bit. This is probably the most I can do. Thank you for coming to our first ever crypto keynote and our first big event in Europe. You'll find out how these pieces fit together in just a moment. It's been an exciting year for this community. How many of you are feeling more optimistic than ever about the future of crypto? Great, me too. And we've survived some dark times, haven't we? But finally, clear regulations are coming into effect in the European Union. This means we now have the clarity to unleash many of the financial innovations that crypto makes possible. Meanwhile, the US, after years of attempting to obliterate the crypto industry, is finally ready to catch up to the rest of the world. We as an industry find ourselves now at an important precipice. We have a chance to prove to the world what we've believed all along, that crypto is much more than a speculative asset. It has the potential to become the backbone of the global financial system. So what we're hoping to do today, two things to turn this from a possibility to an inevitability. One, cross that divide by rolling out new products for our US and EU customers, products that go beyond Bitcoin and meme coins and show fundamental utility. And two, give the crypto community outside the EU a glimpse of the better future that's possible when crypto and traditional financial services fully merge. Here to join me in doing this is Tanya Denisova, the Chief Operating Officer of Robinhood Crypto. Welcome her up. Thank you for being here, Tanya.
Thanks for having me.
You've been in crypto now for how many years?
I got into crypto 9 years ago when I stumbled upon a job offer for a crypto company I'd never heard of before. I Googled it and fell down a rabbit hole learning about Bitcoin. I thought it was just the coolest thing I'd ever heard of.
A true believer. Did you buy Bitcoin at that time?
Of course I did, Vlad.
And did you sell it?
Unfortunately, I did sell some of it.
That's too bad. And we also have Johan Kerbrat, our head of Robinhood Crypto.
Hey Tanya, hey Vlad.
Hey Johan.
Thanks for having me here. And since I know you're going to ask, I got into crypto 15 years ago.
Actually, I wasn't going to ask, but thanks for telling me. 15 years, really? That's a long time, Johan. Why are you working for me?
Well, I kind of did a Tanya, and when Bitcoin hit $1, I thought there's no way this goes any higher, so I sold it all. But, you know, really, I'm basically an engineer, so the reason I'm here is I believe in this technology, and I want to make it less complex and more accessible to more people. So what do I mean by that?
We're ready to hear it, Johan.
Sorry, I got carried away. But it can really be viewed in two ways. One is as a tradable asset, you know, like Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin. I think you all know that here. The other piece is as a fundamental piece of technology that could reshape financial services. And I think this second idea is really underexplored.
Surprisingly, I actually agree with everything you just said. And that reveals a big question that I've been wrestling with for much of the past 2 years. And that question is, what would Robinhood look like if it was rebuilt from the ground up entirely on crypto technology? And that's exactly what we'll be showing you today.
Well, before we get to that, one thing we noticed while preparing this keynote is that while we're all Americans, all of us were also born here in Europe. I moved from St. Petersburg to the US when I was 2 years old.
And I've talked about growing up in Bulgaria so much that they make memes about it. Like this one.
And I'm actually from right here, from Cannes. I lived here for 10 years and used to skate on the Croisette, bothering all the tourists like most of you guys. Unfortunately, there is no meme about it.
Not yet, anyway. So the reason we're telling you all this is because we're excited to be in Europe. You may be used to Robinhood talking about things in the US, but our long-term goal has always been to democratize finance all around the world. And what we're going to show you today is a significant step towards that. And we wanted to do it in a place where Johan felt most comfortable and where people would understand his accent.
That's very nice of you, Vlad. By the way, can you repeat the name of this place again?
I was looking at the French people and they nodded affirmatively, so, but touche. The point of today, hundreds of millions of people all over Europe are about to get access to a whole new Robinhood for the very first time.
Until an hour ago, Robinhood was only fully rolled out in 6 countries worldwide. There's the Robinhood crypto app in Italy, Spain, Poland, and Lithuania. And of course, in the US and UK, there's our brokerage app. And that's it.
However, starting today, I'm excited to announce that Robinhood Crypto will now be available in these countries as well. France, of course. Let's see if you can guess the next one. Someone? Germany. And what about this one? Anyone know what country this is from? Vlad, maybe?
Sounds very much like the anthem I heard every day in school when I was a young boy in Bulgaria.
Okay, guys. No one came here to hear every country's national anthem one by one. To cut to the chase, we are now live across the entire EU and EEA. So altogether with the UK, Robinhood is accessible in a total of 31 countries on this continent alone.
31 amazing countries. And some of the regulators and policymakers who made this possible are actually in the audience tonight. So let's give them a round of applause for their support. Thanks for making this possible. I should also add that we aren't just expanding Robinhood crypto to more countries. No, we're significantly changing what Robinhood does and offers. And I'm not going to ruin it for you all tonight, and hopefully Tanya won't. We'll be getting into all of these new features in great detail.
So for everyone watching in the EU right now, Robinhood is now fully rolled out and available in the App Store and Google Play. So you can download it now or update your app if you're already a user. You might notice a slight change in the name of the app, and the reason for that is going to become clear over the course of the evening.
You may want to take a moment to download it now, because there might be a surprise coming at the end for those who are on the app.
In America, we call that foreshadowing. And I'll just jump in and add a third reason to download it, because there's a whole new asset class coming to the EU app. Introducing perpetual futures. It's exciting, isn't it? We call this, it's like a little appetizer to the main course.
Or the amuse-bouche, I guess.
Yes, or aperitif. Traditionally, perpetual futures have had clunky, overly complicated interfaces, particularly on mobile. So we've spent a lot of time refining and chiseling, and I believe we've crafted perhaps the finest perps experience, the finest perps UX on mobile, reducing the complexity, but without sacrificing the power or speed. Now, advanced traders will be able to trade perps on the go, not just stuck at their desk. So I'll step to the side here, and I'll let Tanya and Johan walk you through what the new experience will look like.
Thanks, Vlad. So I've traded perps on different platforms, and one thing I've always found frustrating is how complicated it is to set your orders correctly and modify them.
Now, speaking personally, after having seen some of the interfaces, I would have no idea where to even begin figuring out how to place an order.
And I get it, Tanya. You know, I actually counted how many tabs and inputs it takes to place an order, and it's more than 20. So when we talked to our most active traders, we really got the feeling that they hated what they currently use, but had no other choice. So when we designed perpetual futures on Robinhood, we worked to make it as seamless as possible, much more intuitive, and less frustrating.
Now, before we get started, by a show of hands, how many people here have actually traded perps? Okay, looks like a lot of you have never traded them before. So for those who don't know, you can just sort of break down the name. So first of all, it's basically a future where you say the price is going to be X, Y, or Z, and it's perpetual, meaning that they don't have an expiration date, so you don't need to constantly monitor the dates of your different contracts. Now, like crypto spot, you can go long, but what's different here is you can also short the asset.
And obviously, something that is very popular with perps is to use leverage, enabling advanced traders to increase their exposure with less capital. So on one end, it's a powerful institutional-grade financial instrument, but unfortunately, most of the time, when you want to trade perps, you are being attacked with a screen that looks like my old TI-83 calculator in high school.
So this is why I don't trade perps, but that ends today. Not just for me, but hopefully for a lot of you as well. Let's show you how it works. So as you can see on the screen, this is the ETH page in the Robinhood EU app.
Okay, Ethereum is pretty stable at 2,000. So what do you all think? Is ETH going to go up or down in the next few days? All right, we have a lot of experts in the room. Mom, what do you think? All right, I think we can go bullish.
All right, let's do it. Let's be long. So you can probably figure out what you need to do here to trade perpetuals instead of spot. You just tap on the card and you're now on the perpetuals page for ETH. So let's place a long ETH order. As we're queuing this, we can clearly see how much margin is available and move the slider left to right to choose the order size. Currently, customers can select up to 3x leverage, but in the future, we plan to expand the options for more advanced customers.
And what's really great is you can easily choose to share your margin across all your position or just isolate it with a single tap. You get to decide the details of your strategy.
Actually, my favorite feature is how you can set profit and loss on the order. This is really cool and changed the whole experience for me. So we took the innovative ladder that our team designed for futures in the US, and we made our own profit and loss ladder. So you can track the price of ETH moving in real time and decide when to take profit by moving the slider here, let's say about 10%, and easily set up a stop loss to help protect your capital, let's say below 5%. Well, it's ETH, so maybe 8%.
And we heard from our customers that they didn't like having to constantly type and update their take profit and stop loss. And it was difficult to do it on a mobile phone. So we made it possible for you to easily change your stop loss with just this swipe of a finger.
So it's incredibly intuitive and easy. And once your orders are placed, you can access them easily through your position hubs and see them all in one place to act on them.
And as we announced a few weeks ago, we closed our acquisition of Bitstamp, the longest continually running crypto exchange in the world. And now Bitstamp is the engine powering perpetual futures. Bitstamp is making possible a lot of other things to help execute the larger crypto vision that Vlad mentioned earlier, like what you see on the screen. So we are looking forward to Bitstamp becoming a foundation of a brand new age global, a brand new global crypto age for Robinhood.
Is my face melting yet?
You surprised me.
Okay, thank you, Johan and Tanya. This has already been a huge unlock for us. In the EU, perpetual futures trading will start rolling out later this summer. So if you're an advanced trader, it's a great time to get familiar with the incredible interface Tanya and Johan just showed you. And by the way, when are perps coming to the US?
So obviously the technology is here and you just saw it. It's all on the Robinhood platform. If and when the CFTC approves the launch of crypto perps, we'll be ready. And by the way, we also introduced micro futures on Bitcoin, Solana, and XRP, and long-dated futures are coming soon. But in the meantime, we have a lot of new products to talk about for the US.
Good transition. I like the optimism. I'd like to see more of that around the office, by the way.
Thanks, Vlad. I will work on it for you.
All right, guys, let's get into some of the features we've been working on specifically for our US customers. There are a lot of them to cover. It's been a busy year, and we've been taking action on some of your biggest requests.
True. We have some major upgrades to announce for our active traders. First of all, as some of you may have seen already, crypto is now available on Robinhood Legend, which is our new state-of-the-art desktop platform. And some of the things people really love about it are the customized indicators and the ability to trade directly from the chart.
And because it's given our traders such an advantage, some of them started asking, when is Legend coming to mobile? And we were a bit unclear about what they meant initially, until we started talking to customers, and it turns out what they really wanted were the powerful charts and indicator on the mobile interface that they know and love. So voila, here they are. Advanced charts are now here for equities and will be coming later this summer for crypto at no additional cost. We think this will be by far the best charting you can get on your phone.
Now, our next update is something that will reward our most active users. Smart Exchange Routing finds the best available price across multiple partner exchanges. That makes it possible for us to provide crypto fee tiers so that your rate goes down as the amount you trade with us goes up. This is something our most active crypto traders have been very excited about. And the numbers you see on the screen are based on your rolling 30-day volume. Most importantly, it's rolling out now and will soon be available on our trading API as well.
And you pay only 10 bips with 5 million plus in volume, all blended, no maker taker. These rates are fantastic.
And I checked, unfortunately, you don't qualify for this rate. But you actually could use another feature. Starting now, Robinhood is the only major platform in the US where you can choose exactly which specific crypto holding you're selling when you're trading, allowing you greater management of your capital gains and losses. Profit is really only profit after you pay your taxes, so having this ability is really going to be useful.
For those of you with paper hands like Johan here, this is going to be especially helpful.
He's just harvesting his losses.
Sure he is, sure he is.
So another exciting addition to our US app is our AI investing assistant, Cortex, which will soon be available for crypto for our gold customers. Cortex brings together the highest quality market data, trends, news, and company earnings, with the goal of giving you all the market insights you need right at your fingertips. So from now on, if you're wondering why your favorite crypto is going up or down or sideways, Cortex will give you the context of all the events that happened recently on the crypto detail page of the token you're interested in.
And I'm not sure if you have tried a Robinhood Gold credit card yet. It very quickly became my #1 card in my wallet. To recap one of its main benefits, you get cash back for every category, no matter what your net worth is. The very annoying thing, though, is that I don't want cash back. I want more crypto. So later this year, we'll be launching Crypto Redemption, where customers can actually automatically purchase their favorite token using the regular gold card or one of our brand new crypto card design right here.
I like the Ethereum card for me.
You're just sucking up to the ETH maxis in the audience, aren't you?
I will not confirm or deny that. Now, as Vlad mentioned, all of this is landing in the US first. However, we're looking to bring all these features to the EU app in the future as well.
Finally, one of our most popular features in the EU app has actually been missing in the US. And this has been one of the main recurring requests from our customers. So you'll be happy to hear that starting today, staking, yes, staking, is now available in the US.
That's a big one.
Now, before we get into the details, I want to talk a little bit about staking and why it matters. Wax poetic, if you will.
Wax on, Vlad.
So one of the things that makes crypto so robust is that there's no central authority, and the transactions are maintained by a distributed network that's open and available to all. And part of what makes this so compelling is that anyone is able to participate in maintaining the network. You are the network. So staking is not just about earning rewards, although that's very nice. It's also about doing our part individually and collectively to secure this amazing infrastructure that we're all helping to build. And now it's easier than ever to do so on Robinhood. We're starting with Ethereum and Solana staking, and we have some of the best APYs in the market. Voila, here they are.
Also, to help you get more to stake, we currently have a deposit boost running for crypto season. The current offer has a deposit goal that the community needs to reach in order to receive a 2% boost. But to end crypto week on an even more positive note, we're removing that minimum.
So for both our EU and US customers, if you deposit crypto before July 7, we'll boost that amount by 2%, with no deposit goal to it and no limit to how much you can earn. And don't worry, if you already deposited as part of this promotion, you will get the 2%.
Wow.
Anyway, that wraps up our US update. Let's zoom out a bit now and get into one of the most exciting applications of crypto today, one that will fundamentally redefine what's tradable and where it's traded. You may have already guessed our next update. Yes, now is the time when we get into tokenization. So I believe that tokenization is going to open the door to a massive trading revolution, making it possible to own or even fractionally own all kinds of real-world assets and financial instruments that were never accessible or tradable by most people before. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this for years, including from me and more recently from some of our competitors. But not a lot of action, not a lot of action. Well, that ends today, literally right now, because over the past year, Johan, Tanya, and the rest of the crypto team have been working very hard to make this a reality. Now, the big question we faced was, what shall we tokenize first? So we asked ourselves, what about bonds? Should we tokenize some bonds? What do you all think? Okay, not a lot of excitement
There we
about
go,
that.
tokenized stocks.
How about mutual funds? Mutual funds would be a great thing to tokenize. Very, very cool. Maybe private credit? Carbon credits. Okay, how about tokenized Bitcoin? Okay, yes, that was a trick question. Just wanted to make sure everyone was still paying attention. As we got to thinking about what to tokenize, we saw an opportunity not to just do this with an asset class that we understood very well, because we pioneered commission-free trading in it, but also to solve a pain point that we saw from our European customers, which is while they love crypto, they really want exposure to US stocks as well. So we're really excited to announce that it is now possible for our European customers to get exposure to hundreds of major US stocks like Apple, Nvidia, and Amazon, in addition to ETFs, in tokenized form, all on chain, with thousands more coming by the end of the year. Introducing stock tokens on Robinhood.
Here we go.
Now, stock tokens are a bit of a technically complex trading product, but we've worked hard to make the experience as intuitive as possible for our eligible traders. In large part, the crypto technology powering all this lies under the hood, and we'll be lifting that hood up for you a little bit later. In the meantime, I want to introduce Song Lee, who's our head of product for crypto, to show you what trading stock tokens is going to look like. Song?
Thanks, Vlad. So I've been in crypto for about 7 years, almost as long as Tanya. And at every crypto conference I go to, the main topic is always about mass adoption. I feel like I've heard that mass adoption is 1 year away every year. Actually, there's an Ethereum conference just next door, and one of the topics is about, you guessed it, mass adoption. But what we've realized while driving usage with millions of customers to Robinhood Crypto is that real adoption isn't going to happen from forcing people to understand how the blockchain works, and especially not from having them farm rewards on every new crypto app. It's going to happen not just by making the technology better, but by making the interface so easy and intuitive to use that the technical part is almost invisible. The same reason why hundreds of millions of people started using ChatGPT so quickly. And so that's what we've done with stock tokens. We've made it easy, intuitive, and fast while keeping the complicated technology under the hood. So to show you how this works, I'm going to walk you through what buying a stock looks like on the traditional brokerage compared to buying stock tokens. Here on the left side of the screen, you'll see the US app where you can buy equities the traditional way. On the right, the EU app with stock tokens. So starting from this page, let's say we're interested in Apple. We're going to enter in the amount I want to buy, about 100 euros of Apple. Hit review. Swipe up. And your trade is complete. And that is it. So what's amazing is that you're having a consistent experience across both apps, but the technology making this possible is completely different. In fact, if we weren't telling you that this was a token that you were buying with this token badge right here, you'd have no idea this was a blockchain transaction. But actually, if you do tap on this badge, that's where you'll learn all about trading stock tokens in the Robinhood app. And I'm going to quickly cover the highlights. First, as some of you may have been wondering, you won't be missing out on dividends by holding stock tokens. You'll get those payments, along with any stock splits that might happen, directly into the account where you're holding your tokens. You'll also have access to ETFs. Through stock tokens, you can gain exposure to the most popular US ETFs like VOO, SPY, and more. And finally, we're bringing the same zero commission trading that our users in the US love to the EU. So there will be no commissions, no hidden fees, and no added spreads on stock tokens from Robinhood.
Oh, that's bullish.
One thing I should note is that there is a 0.10% FX conversion fee when your euros are automatically converted to dollars during the trade. And that's one of the lowest rates available anywhere. So let's show you how our European app has evolved with the introduction of stock tokens. Now, our app transitions from being a crypto-only app to an all-in-one investment app powered by crypto, all at one of the lowest costs available. So like Joanne hinted at earlier, we've changed the name of the app to reflect this. Robinhood Crypto is now just Robinhood. Here, you'll get perpetual futures, zero-fee Bitcoin trading, and zero-commission US stock and ETF tokens all in one place. This is just the beginning of a major expansion of what's possible for Robinhood's customers in the EU and in the future around the world, all powered through blockchain technology. I'm incredibly excited about this, and I hope you are too. So I'm going to turn it over to Vlad to explain a little bit more about how this works.
All right.
This is big.
Thanks, Son. Very cool.
This is big.
Give him a round of applause. He's been working very hard. All right. As of today, this is available now on the Robinhood app for all eligible European customers. And we're hard at work making it available everywhere else in the world as well, of course, subject to local rules and regulations. Now, stock tokens may not be the easiest product to understand at first blush. So I'm wondering if you're curious about how all this works behind the scenes. I can show you if you'll bear with me. I find the whole process behind what Song showed you fascinating. I'll also share a little bit about how it will evolve in the near future and potentially scale to pretty much any asset. This is a chalkboard. I've been told that Cary Grant wrote on this on the set of To Catch a Thief, which was filmed here, by the way. I don't know if I believe it, but I have been told this. Okay, so here you are. Our European customer. There's your mobile phone. And let's say you wanted to buy some Apple stock. What happens is that order is transmitted to our backend. And then it's transmitted to a US broker. Now, this is a registered TradFi broker-dealer that will buy a traditional share from what I'll call a TradFi market. Now, this could be a market maker or an exchange like the NYSE or the NASDAQ. Then that share is transmitted back to the US broker. It's custodied in traditional form, and it gets sent to what we call our tokenization engine. Now, this is where the magic really happens. So for every share that's being purchased from the TradFi market, one token is being minted, and this represents the exposure to this share. And then that token gets transmitted back to you. So what this means is, right now, every time you place a trade, an actual traditional share is being purchased from the market, held in custody, and a fresh token is minted. Then similarly, when you want to sell these shares, the process goes in reverse. Robinhood instructs the introducing broker to sell the share, the underlying share in the open market. Then we burn the token, give you the proceeds. And this is all available 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I'll call this phase one. Okay. And let's talk about what happens in phase two, which hopefully will be rolling out to customers in the next few months. So in phase two, we see the introduction of Bitstamp by Robinhood. Now, what happens with Bitstamp is it's put alongside the TradFi market, and the tokenized instruments would be listed there, just like normal cryptos like Bitcoin and ETH. And we now have the choice. So let's say the TradFi market is closed, like it is on weekends and holidays. We can send your orders to Bitstamp. But if it's open, then we can send it to the TradFi market and benefit from the centuries of liquidity that's been building on these traditional markets. So you really would get the best of both worlds. And then this unlocks 24/7 trading, which is very cool. But that's not all. Phase three is when things really start to cook, also a few months away. This is when the possibilities really start to multiply. Okay? And if you bear with me with my schematic, we should probably do that. So in phase three, you're integrating directly with the blockchain. So we're working on unlocking the ability for you to take these kinds of tokens outside of our walled garden and into your wallet, into the world of DeFi. How would you feel about self-custodying your stock tokens? It's cool, right? Well, it just might be available soon in your Robinhood wallet. So what this means, you could take your stock tokens off of Robinhood, control your keys, integrate directly with the blockchain, and take advantage of all the amazing utilities that developers, including many of you here, are building. So this could mean collateralized lending and borrowing, swapping, really self-custody in its very pure form. Now, the beauty of this process is that it transfers pretty easily to any type of asset. So you can kind of circumscribe this part here, and you could replace this US stockbroker with, say, an art broker or a real estate broker, swap out the appropriate market or exchange. Outside of the token stuff, everything is pretty fungible and interchangeable. So we look forward to expanding your trading options with the assets that you care about most.
Bro.
Pretty cool, huh?
This is crazy.
Was looking backstage. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what is this piece of critical technology, Vlad?
Oh, this thing. Yes, that is a hat, or as the French would call it, a beret.
Vlad, you know what I meant.
Ah, this thing here. Well, that would be the blockchain, in case you couldn't tell from my amazing sketch or blueprint, really. Right now, it's Arbitrum, but we've been working on something really special. And it's still a little bit early, but I think there's no better time to share it with you all than right now. Introducing the Robinhood chain.
There it is, folks. By the way,
This
we
is
just
the
hit
first
90.
blockchain optimized for real-world assets, from real estate to art to stocks, with the right technology and regulatory infrastructure needed to carry the entire traditional financial system on its back into the future.
And our goal with Stock Token on the Robinhood chain is that in the near future, you will be able to seamlessly transfer your assets in seconds. And your ability to trade will not be reliant on any individual broker or counterparty. So long as the blockchain is up and processing transaction, you will maintain access to your hard-earned access.
Very, very important. I feel that as the benefits of this technology become increasingly clear in the coming years, the pressure and incentive for more and more firms to adopt it will continue to grow. So we'll continue to work with regulators and bring the entire Robinhood ecosystem on-chain, starting with tokenized assets like stocks, perpetual futures, DeFi, of course, spot crypto trading. And from there, we're planning to open the doors much wider. So, and we've been talking to a lot of the developers in the room about this already. If you're interested in being one of our first developers, we would like to open the doors much wider. So please reach out to us.
And when Vlad says about opening the door much wider on our chain, there is one new asset that comes up a lot. So I want to pre-announce it now because I think it really fits the Robinhood mission. And that's private company stock. These are a massive wealth generator for a very small group of rich, well-connected insiders who get access to these deals early. Like Vlad.
Even I actually have difficulty getting into some of these deals.
And crypto has the power to solve this inequality.
That's going to be a big one. A lot of the technologies changing the world are startups. And I'm sure many of you would love to invest in the companies that you're using or hearing about every day. But with more and more of these companies staying private, even at huge valuations, it's just not accessible to most people. So as an example of what's possible, imagine how your investing portfolio would change if it were possible to get early exposure to private companies like SpaceX and OpenAI, which are now worth billions of dollars.
That would be exciting to do, wouldn't it? But why talk about doing it later when we can do it right now?
Uh-oh.
You may have been wondering what this awesome briefcase that I walked in with was for.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'm holding in my hands right now the keys to the first ever stock tokens for OpenAI.
Oh, boy.
And not just OpenAI, but also SpaceX. SpaceX is in here too. If you download the Robinhood EU app, which we gave you ample warning to do, you're about to figure out why we gave you that warning. I'd like to transfer these tokens to you and give you exposure to two of the most valuable private companies in the world right now. We'll give you a week to onboard, then we're going to release all the tokens. So as long as you're a Robinhood EU customer, you'll be able to claim what we believe are the world's first OpenAI and SpaceX private stock tokens on a decentralized blockchain.
And just remember, the deadline is end of day on Monday, July 7th, or Juillet 7th. This is really exciting, and I can't wait to see it.
Coming from Johan, that means a lot. The last time this guy was excited was when Bitcoin hit $1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is send the OpenAI and SpaceX stock tokens to Johan, and he's going to distribute them from the Robinhood entity to everyone that signs up. So I should caveat, don't do what I'm doing, which is import your wallet across a live stream. So I'm a very sophisticated individual, but generally, yeah, that's good advice. So I'm going to import. I caught the last word from my crypto steal here. I'm going to enter my PIN, very secure, and wait for it to be imported. It's working. Hopefully the 5G spins a little bit.
Well, it's hot. Even internet has sweating.
That is very true. Okay. What do you think, Johan?
We could also use the other phone. With multiple phones.
Let's see. This one looks like it might be connected. Oh, never mind.
We didn't even have time.
Voila. Okay. So let's see. There it is. There's the wallet. And you can see in there that we've got our OpenAI and SpaceX shares. So let's see. Let's go to OpenAI right here. And I'm going to send them all to Robinhood Europe for your later disbursement. Shall I?
Yeah, why not? Send $1 million.
Okay, let's see. There we go. $1 million, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, why not? All right. Oh, and you can even look on the blockchain at the transaction ID on Arbiscan. So you know it's the internet because this would be loading very, very quickly.
Hood's up 10%.
It's with the 5G with all these people here now.
Yeah. Well, while it loads, see, actually the wallet was loading faster than Arbiscan, wasn't it?
Well, there's maybe some congestion on the network, so it should go through shortly, and we'll see the confirmation on the blockchain soon. But while Vlad sends out the OpenAI tokens, I'm going to show you what that will look like when these tokens land in your Robinhood account. If you're already downloaded the app, you will receive the notification you're seeing on the screen right now. Then just open the app and hit Get Started. If you successfully onboard to trade stock token within the next 5 days, you will see the screen right here, then click ahead to see the tokens on your account.
Right now, consider these SpaceX and OpenAI tokens a gift from us. You're going to have to hold on to them for a little bit, but we're working to unlock trading for these on all of our platforms, real time, 24/7. So if you see what's happening here, we have the technology built to tokenize exposure to private markets, make them accessible on-chain and off-chain to everyone. And when we're able to roll this out on a global level, I believe this can solve one of the greatest long-standing iniquities in our capital markets today.
I really hope this helps more people realize why crypto is here to stay and make our entire financial system better. To summarize our announcements for today, you can now trade crypto and stock tokens on Robinhood anywhere in the EU, with perpetual futures coming soon. In the US, we've launched staking and a host of other features for advanced crypto traders, with more coming soon. And for the world, the Robinhood chain is on its way.
Also, I should add some late-breaking news. Just last week, the stablecoin we helped launch, USDG, was approved under the new MiCA regulation in the EU, where popular alternatives like Tether are banned. So you can look forward to USDG becoming a first-class stablecoin across the entire Robinhood ecosystem.
First-class stablecoin. And this is just the beginning of what we're working to make possible. So thanks for coming today. I hope to see you all at Hood Summit in September, because this isn't it. There's actually a lot more coming to Robinhood that you should know about.
See you all there.
Thanks for watching.
Voila.
Well, folks, I think we got some stuff to talk about. I'll give it to Chris Patel first. Chris, your reaction to this?
It's great, man. I think Robinhood's got a really promising future. Just one thing. One of the reasons why I don't think the U.S. people were able to access that last thing is because you need to be an accredited investor in order to qualify to be able to get to participate. Now, I just posted something in the chat. If you want to click on that real quick, Amit, that can soon change actually. So one of the things, and let me explain this to the general public so people understand, there are certain investing regulations out there with private deals, with things that are not regulated nearly as much. Those things are only allowed to be bought and sold by accredited investors. And to be an accredited investor, there are income thresholds that you can meet, or net worth thresholds that you can meet, or a license where you have like some sort of background in the financial markets, so that if you meet any of those three criteria, you're allowed to invest in private deals. So like Amit right now, he was able to get into Figure AI because he is an accredited investor. A person who has $20,000 in the bank making $50,000 a year, they're not allowed to invest in those companies. The government, because of those rules, feels that, hey, this is an unsophisticated person. They don't know, the ins and outs of how to deal with private company and their valuations. They shouldn't be allowed to have access to this. It's very similar like that, similar to a lot of bonds as well, where there's really, really attractive bond rates that are out there, but they're not available to the retail community because they'll be like, oh no, this person's not smart enough to figure this out, so we're going to keep this away. Now, of course, there are people in Congress who are saying, well, this is kind of unfair because more of these deals should be available to retail investors. And you can actually see that people are starting to kind of put the changes through. So one day we could actually see the rules relaxed. There's still some people out there that are more or less, like, oh no, we need to protect retail investors from themselves. So, they're degenerates. So, but the problem is when you try to kind of protect something, you're also enabling the other part, which is the real rich people, to have damn it, my wife is getting all these gains because we have some stuff in the portfolio that's doing well. So she keeps texting me and screenshotting me shit.
Yeah,
Relax,
that
right.
and the broader tokenization, I think, is tokenization infrastructure just isn't in the States yet, but I do think that'll be coming soon. Robinhood right here, 90.60. Chris, I'm going to give my recap of this event and then I'll get back to you and kind of get your take on what's going on right now. Folks, this is pretty damn incredible. First of all, let's ring the damn bell for that event. 91.88 we hit on the day. We're above 90, up 9%. Congratulations for those in Robinhood. I mean, this is a big one. This is a big one. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of a summary of some of these events. I'm sure we'll get Tanner on here in probably 15, 20 minutes, get his thoughts. But this was insanity, what they just announced. This was absolute insanity. And I think this is why, again, the street is betting on Robinhood. What they just saw today is going to change the trajectory, not only for their crypto business, but obviously also for their top line revenue growth, EPS growth, all the different things that Robinhood has been rumored to be putting out into the world. It is officially out. And the reason it's getting this 9% bump, which might get sold off, might continue to go higher, might normalize around this range, it is because Arnie just tweeted that he got OpenAI and SpaceX tokens. I mean, this is why you bet on founders that are changing the world. It is very, very difficult to put out innovations at the speed that Robinhood's doing it at. This is probably why Vlad was so excited for this crypto conference, as he's been talking about for the past couple of months now, because they knew they would be able to actually make this real. There is Arnie's OpenAI token, which is worth 433.87, and his SpaceX token, which is worth 230. Now, this is a tokenized version of the stock of OpenAI and SpaceX. And actually, this makes a lot of sense because I was on Hive the other day. OpenAI is trading for $4.95 a share. So the fact that Arnie has 433.87 of a token of a share essentially is accurately reflecting the fair market price that the secondary markets are willing to bid on when it comes to these privatized stocks or privatized tokens. This is going to come to the United States. Chris was right. We have accredited laws that Europe doesn't have, which makes it a little bit harder for it to come to the United States. But eventually, when it does come into the US, it is going to be a game changer, along with the fact that we now have tokenized stocks staking in the US. I mean, this is just massive. So let's talk about what Vlad was able to pull off right here. These are the 3 new products: tokenization and layer 2 blockchain, perpetual futures, and crypto staking in the United States. I think all of us thought crypto staking was eventually going to happen. Tokenization was the biggest announcement today, and we'll get deeper into why that's important. Perpetual futures is actually really important. I have never traded a perp, as they're called. But honestly, I feel like I'm high off perks right now based on what Vlad just announced. But in reality, perpetual futures are options without an expiry. So you can go long 50x leverage your Bitcoin via perpetual future. There is no expiration date, a call option that has to end on a certain date. Now, that means you can get really leveraged gains, right? And people can turn $1 and turn it into 50, or you can blow up your account. So it goes both ways. But the point is that is up for traders to be able to have access to that type of sophistication. And that is what Robinhood has brought in terms of this technology, which is pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. I didn't know they were going for perp futures, but that's what they're doing. Crypto staking, everyone kind of thought they were going to do that. And then tokenization is the biggest thing that we'll talk about. Vlad said our latest offerings lay the groundwork for crypto to become the backbone of the global financial system. If we look a little bit deeper into the news release that they put out right here, Johan said, crypto was built by engineers for engineers, and it has not been accessible to most people. We're onboarding the world to crypto by making it easy to use as possible with the goal of bringing powerful tools into one intuitive platform. Over the rest of the week, we'll talk about all these other things. I'm sure on the podcast tonight with Tanner and Roy, we'll go deeper into perps and staking. The big thing that I want to talk about right here is stock tokens. The most important thing that I think Vlad introduced today is that not only did he explain, by the way, it was an incredible explanation on the chalkboard explaining how they're making it happen. I mean, the fact that he barely stuttered and that he was able to meaningfully articulate the vision for the back end, because obviously people are confused, right? Like, how are you able to do this? And he was able to walk everyone through it and explain it. He did just a phenomenal job as a CEO presenting that stuff. But more importantly, they're making it commission free. They're making it commission free, which means they're going to probably get a spread on the FX. They're probably going to get some value in terms of just having everyone centralized into their ecosystem. But the point is, the beauty of buying Robinhood or Apple or Palantir on the Robinhood app in the United States, they want to bring that feeling to Europeans. And not just the Europeans. This is going to come to Asia, Africa. This is going to come all over the world in countries and continents where the sophistication on blockchain technology is getting there, but the sophistication on brokerages, aka centralized exchange, which you have to have all these different rules and regulations to make it happen to even set up a brokerage account. They're just not there in other countries. And if they are there, it's really crappy infrastructure. And one of the things that Robin had mentioned right here, Vlad mentioned today, is 24/7. I don't know if that's going to be live immediately, but if you're able to trade Palantir, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia 24/7 in the EU via tokenized assets, that means eventually in the United States, we're also going to be able to trade the 24/7 version of these stocks, which means we are going to enter into a world where we have 24-hour markets, but Saturday, Sunday, they're going to be open for trading, and you're going to have kind of stocks that are open forever. Now, liquidity might not be, the most amazing in some of those times where the broader NYSE isn't open, but the point is it's coming. And if more people start trading during those times, you're just going to have more liquidity entering to the system. By the way, guess who that's bullish for? Robinhood, because they make money off of transactions. So they are building out the technology and the infrastructure to increase not only user adoption, not only user experience, but overall trading volumes. Right now, I do believe it's 24/5, but Vlad did put on the chalkboard eventually 24/7. I don't know how long that's going to take, but if anyone's going to get it to be 24/7, it is going to be Robinhood. And then you've got Coinbase, Kraken, Binance. You got a lot of these companies trying to build up the ecosystem for 24/7 trading of tokenized assets, which means it's coming. And if it comes relatively soon, that this is going to be an incredible way to see how Robinhood ultimately executes against this. Chris, your thoughts on some of the other things that we saw today outside of the
this is super bullish for US dollar. One of the things that maybe Vlad, well, there's a couple of things that maybe I'll do some research on to figure out later on. But okay, when you think about what he did, essentially, he took money from that foreign currency, went to the broker, and then it went to go buy a share, and that share was then held in custody. The thing is, you can't buy a stock with Mexican pesos, right? So you're going to have to convert it to US dollars, and then US dollars buys the stock, and then the stock gets put into custody. And so this way, the other side, same thing would happen, right? Where you would sell that share of, I don't know, Apple, whatever. That token sale would then get converted back to US dollar, and then US dollar would then convert back to whatever the currency is for that country, and that token would then get burned, right?
Right.
So that is big. That's huge liquidity for US dollars, basically. So if you think about it, all these currencies, all the entire planet is going to become more and more dependent on the US dollar. So this whole thing with Scott Bessent, when he was talking about we need stablecoin legislation, that's really big, because now it means that the US dollar can be the ultimate liquidity provider for the entire freaking planet. I mean, not only will people have access to US stock markets, but all the transactions are going to be done via USD, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. And what are all of those US dollars going to be based on? It's going to be based on the US Treasury. So the borrowing cost of the president could go down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that, guess what? The world is becoming more dependent on the good old greenback. And because we have the printing press that is the greenback, it's amazing. Thank you, Robinhood, for securing America's future.
Yeah, and their stablecoin just got approval, so that stablecoin narrative in and of itself is going to start getting some more momentum. I mean, this is one of those things where, look, I don't know if we hold the pump. I mean, the pump is pretty incredible right here, up 9%. It could be a sell the news later. People people buy in more. But the point is, this is not even about the stock right now. This is about what they just showed off, and the market is giving them the premium today because they're realizing, holy crap, the highest margin part of their business, crypto, just got futures, just got staking, just got access to the entire European Union. And if you got a lot of people that are using IBKR or any of these other exchanges, and they decide to come to Robinhood, or if you're on Coinbase, they took away the $500 million 2% deposit minimum. So now any crypto you have, you're going to get 2% on that just for coming to Robinhood. I think the market's looking at that and saying, there is no way this company, A, is not going to be in the S&P 500 eventually, B, is not going to keep growing. And the market's
this company is just going to be another level of it's going to be a monster, dude. Like, I'm just sad that when it dropped like in the 30s, like about a month ago, I didn't fucking buy some damn spreads on this thing. That was the time, bro. I know Sam bought a crap ton of Robinhood. I know you sold your spreads and you just went straight into stock. But man, if you had those spreads right now, brother, you would be way, way better. But whatever, it doesn't matter. A win is a win. Yeah, but no, this is good. In full transparency, there were a couple of things I did not like. I did not like the leverage portion of the perpetuals. Why? Because I feel like yes, in short term, you could theoretically gain some users who want to be degenerates. But my thing has always been like, why give people the option to be a degenerate and blow up their account, and then later on, they can't invest in real companies and real things. That just, I don't know. I'm of the mind that you should give people access to things that are going to make their lives better. And some of this stuff can get very destructive.
The thing is for them, I think because look, if you're a sophisticated trader, you need perps, like every platform has. So like obviously if you blow up your account because you're doing perps, like you got to take accountability for that. But if you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on Binance, you might, and if you could bring it on a Robinhood or tens of millions.
Yeah. I mean, look, a degen is going to figure out how to degen, right? That's not the most complicated thing, but it's almost like the way that I would phrase this is the same thing that like I have like arguments with like one of my religious uncles. This dude is always like, oh, but you should not smoke, you should not do drinking, right? And I was like, yo, you own multiple gas stations with cigarettes and beer, bro. Like, shut up. Don't give me that bullshit. Oh no, but that's different. I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So this whole thing with, hey, we need to give retail investors access to things. I'm for it, but there's certain things that I'm just not a big fan of, but whatever. I get the point though. I do think that people should have the option, if they want to take the risk, go for it. But the amount of leverage that sometimes people take can get a little bit, especially when it comes to these like crypto degens, bro. They'll like take an entire paycheck and dump it in there and hope for the best.
Chris, last question for you. What do you think this means for Ethereum? Any thoughts on this one?
I have to look into it more, man. Like a lot of this stuff, I want to know like which chain is Robinhood going to like work? Like what technology is the Hood crypto thing going?
It's on Arbitrum, which I believe is a layer 2 for ETH, if I'm not wrong.
Interesting.
So
yeah, and once again, I don't know how the actual monetization portion of all of this stuff is going to work. The other thing that I wonder how Robinhood is going to treat those custodied stocks. Like, okay, imagine right now you bought $1 billion worth of Apple stock, right? You basically custody it and you give someone tokens, right? That represent those million shares. Let's say I want to short those million shares. Can I go to Robinhood and say, let me borrow those shares from Robinhood and pay them the lending fee? And then who ultimately gets the fee? It's not the token holder. It's going to be Robinhood because they're the ones custodying this thing. And they're ultimately the ones that are going to be responsible for it because it would technically be in a pool, right? So let's say, I made the money that I wanted to, and then I want to give those shares back. I would give those shares back. I mean, but your token count wouldn't change, but the stock is literally custodied in a Robinhood segregated account, or at least that's something that I'd like to see one day, like maybe clarified. I don't know if Robinhood will clarify that, but that could be a huge revenue generator for them.
Yeah, I think we need a lot more details in terms of how, if they give clients the ability to self-custody their stocks, how they like eventually make money on that, make the spread.
Well, remember, he said self-custody tokens, not self-custody stocks.
Right.
Right. That's the part that, like I said, it's something that would be interesting to find out, because if it is that, hey, you can self-custody the tokens and we'll basically, act like the bank and store your stock.
Right.
Right. So imagine right now, like you take $1 million, you go to the bank, right? You deposit physical dollars into the bank. The bank has $1 million now, and they go out and they lend it to somebody else and they make money on that spread, right? And you basically get some of the interest, but the bank collects most of the interest, right? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, hey, listen, with all these companies, could theoretically Robinhood make money on all of this stuff? And if the answer is yes, bro, their revenue is about to explode, because think about it. That means that they're no longer just a stock platform. They're like a fucking stock banking platform with huge gross margins. That's all electronic.
That's all electronic. I think that's why the street's giving them this bump right now, because they know the crypto margins that are so good in the US, if they go across the entire world and they're able to become this stock bank as you're referencing here.
Yeah. I mean, imagine right now what portion of your net worth right now, Amit, is in physical US dollars versus in investing.
Right.
So imagine right now you're getting, like, Robinhood is getting interest on that ownership of those stock. Right now with the stock lending program, you basically get a cut. They get somewhat of a cut, right?
Right.
With this, I wonder if it's the same thing where you get a small cut and basically they get to keep a cut of it. And once again, that's huge in terms of future revenue growth for them, because that could be a meaningful part of their future growth strategy. Yeah, but no, this is definitely a company that you could buy, hold, and chill. The one other thing is, other brokerages are more than likely going to follow this model if it's successful. Right. So Robinhood will definitely have first mover advantage, and they'll definitely take advantage of this. But if it's something that's successful, other companies will replicate it and do it themselves as well. They may not have the same level of success as Robinhood, because Robinhood seems to be a very innovative company doing things. But none of what he showed today seemed like it's like patentable. So you can't really like say, oh, this is our process. Like, this is just a way to transact. And so I think other brokerages will eventually like kind of move into the same kind of model as well, and they'll probably offer similar things. But once again, Robinhood has first mover advantage, and they'll be able to clean up.
Yeah, this is pretty incredible, dude. I mean, and this is, as Vlad said, this is just getting started. They have more events coming up this year. It's just like they're becoming a well-rounded company that truly is diversifying into every sector. So
my only concern would be that, I mean, this is not really a concern. It's just, I think the volatility in the markets could significantly go up and down now. Because I mean, think of it this way: up until now, like if you go back to the 80s, what portion of the populations bought stock or bonds or mutual funds or whatever? Not a lot, And over time, now you're seeing huge retail inflows into the US. So right now, I think if you look at the general public, I think that whether directly or indirectly, there's a much bigger ownership over equity positions around the US. Now, if you take that and you multiply it into the world where the entire planet can buy Apple shares, I mean, talk about price discovery, bro. Liquidity, right? So we could see multiples expand significantly for US based companies that do really well. I mean, how many people around the world would like to buy Tesla, but they can't because they don't have access to certain trading platforms that these guys could provide?
Yeah, I mean, the ability to buy Tesla easily in a country that doesn't have the actual brokerages that make it simple, like we have in the United States. For Robinhood to expand to all those countries across the, I mean, again, Coinbase will do this, Binance, all of them will do it. The question is going to be who's going to be the best at doing it. And if Hood gets this right in the EU and then expands, this is their market to win.
So someone said, like people can already buy Tesla around the world. Yes, but it's not in the easy way that they were able to demonstrate it via the tokens thing. So if you saw in the EU thing that experience that they had, which is literally just open the app, find the ticker, click yes, and boom, it comes to your thing. It's a lot more complicated trying to set this up around the world. All right, it's not as like, oh my God, it's clear cut. And I think, dude, if you're in a third world country, bro, you need to be saving up, buy some freaking stock in Robinhood, and eventually get that Trump gold card, bro. figure out how to 100x your money and get out. Buy one of those gold cards and just come here to the US at that point.
And there's no fees too. There's no fees on this outside of FX. So
I don't think. See, here's the thing. I know that they're saying no fees, but they're definitely figuring out ways to monetize this. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Right.
Which is when you say, remember, Amit, nothing in this world is free. Okay. So he's like, oh, no fees. Yeah, okay, brother.
But that's the thing. Like in the United States, there's no fees either, but they make money on payment for order flow. But that's banned in Europe. So they're going to find some way to make money. But that's my point. For the customer, that's their problem. The customer just needs a great experience.
But that's the thing. I think the way that they're going to monetize that portion of it is by stock lending, right? I told you, if they custody the stock, then they could probably lend it out and make some money on that. If they can't do it via order flow, they could do it via this.
Right.
So it's like I said, I just think that these guys, the one thing I've noticed about Vlad is that he knows how to freaking make money. All right. And he's a good CEO and he's always trying to figure out how to do more, how to make more. Like, I think the credit card product is going to be massive. Like, I've been using my gold card the entire time and it's freaking great. I'm canceling my Chase Reserve card. I spoke to my wife about it. I was like, look, Chase Reserve is like raising their price to like $7.59 or something. I'm like, why are we paying these guys? Like, we barely use all the stuff that's in there because the Robinhood gold card gives us access to about, I would say 85% of everything with zero fees, by the way. So all of our spending now is on the Robinhood gold card. It's amazing. I love it.
All right, Chris, I'm going to call Tanner and get his thoughts.
Enjoy, guys. Enjoy your wins, Robinhood Bulls. I'm a little bit I'm gonna hate on y'all a little bit, but it's okay. You can hate on me.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Talk
Bye.
later. All right, let's get Tanner in here and let's get his thoughts. Tanner.
That's good, buddy.
Dude. You're still live, right?
Yep, I am.
Okay. Hello to Tanner's audience. I guess I'll get started with you, bro. What I know we'll talk about it tonight on the podcast, but what are your thoughts?
Bro, if you want one company, like, this is what I was saying to people earlier. A lot of companies say they're reshaping the world. Robinhood truly is changing the game at every single one of these events. They're pushing the boundaries and blowing people away. So tokenization of assets, great. Tokenization of OpenAI, SpaceX, and whatever companies are going to sign up to do this next, unbelievable. Liquidity for employees, being able to trade in and out. It's only going to get more popular as more companies add on. And then on top of that, they're doing like everyone talked about the infrastructure. Sorry, I'm going all over the place.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're good. No, you're good. No, I agree. Look, there's a lot to talk about, and I know we'll collect our thoughts today, and we'll go deeper on it tonight. But this is big.
Robinhood chain, like everyone talks about SoFi being the infrastructure play. Robinhood wants every brokerage to tap into their real world assets tokenized chain. So then that adds liquidity for everyone. Because if you break up and everyone does their own thing, it's bad for everyone.
Yeah, and Arnie just posted a video. We're looking at it right now, buying Robinhood on Robinhood in Italy via stock tokens. Like the fact that it's, dude, I thought they would announce it, then maybe it takes a little bit of time. It's here. It's like it's happening right now.
Crazy. And we're pumping up new highs once again right now. 91.70. Holy.
Wait, let me check resistance at 92. This is, I mean, dude, this is just, it's one of those. I think the street is correctly realizing that they're going for everything at this point. And as a result, they're giving them the premium here. And if the S&P gives them inclusion at 100 and these funds have to buy it at this price, I mean, dude, it's going to catch a bid at a pretty high level. 92 resistance, folks. 11,000 shares. There's not really resistance. 11,000 shares.
Hilarious.
Pretty incredible. Yeah, I'll give some of my thoughts. I think, the perpetual futures are amazing. Staking, we all knew was going to happen. The big thing here is tokenization. I mean, the fact that a bunch of Europeans in my chat just got SpaceX and OpenAI tokens and they're buying Robinhood, Palantir, NVIDIA on their app. The crypto app is now called Robinhood. So they get full access to what we get in the States, which is the ability to just buy a stock without worrying about commissions. I think that's a game changer. And I think the level of liquidity, as you were mentioning, is going to increase dramatically. The amount of transaction volumes will increase. The ability for them to monetize the FX spread, Robinhood 3 cents away from 92. There you go, folks, 92.
Holy crap.
92, the street's a little bullish on Robinhood. I think the street is just recognizing that this is the future. This is happening. They have another event coming out in a couple months in September. So it's not like the innovation is stopping. They're going to Singapore by the end of the year. That's going to be big. I mean, when it comes to a generational company led by a founder that is realizing their business can touch every single element of someone's financial future utilizing technology, it's Robinhood, and it's happening.
Bro, every country that they announced it in such an interesting way where they said, oh, we're expanding into these other 31 countries. Oh, and by the way, we're bringing stock trading to all those countries today. You just entered brokerage in all those countries. Like, no one's thinking about it that way.
You literally just entered brokerage in all those countries.
Yeah.
Via tokenization.
Yeah.
Germany, all of them. Robinhood, Italy, Robinhood's everywhere now. Everywhere. I mean,
and now it's so easy to expand into crypto for all these countries. Like Coinbase is in 100 plus countries. Imagine if Robinhood goes that same direction, but they're bringing brokerage with them.
Yeah.
You're getting the Robinhood experience. It's not even going to be called Robinhood Crypto. They're just going to call it Robinhood.
I think we're going to get some $100 upgrades tomorrow, dude. Look, the question now becomes valuation. And I know that's going to be the biggest concern for everybody. 81 billion. They're going to do about, $3.5 billion of revenue this year. I mean, look, here's the thing. As valuation increases, people have to ask themselves, is the growth trajectory increasing? And based on what we saw today, we have no reason to not believe the growth will accelerate, even if, the market stalls out a little bit, maybe things get a little bit more bearish in the macro. There's going to be new levers of growth they can pull. And I think that's what the street's pricing it.
Yeah. Even immediately with staking in the United States, like we already saw Robinhood's going to take 25% of the cut. The other people are going to take 75%, which is actually still pretty high for a brokerage. Like giving the user 75%, that's pretty high. But that's going to add into their, Q3 immediately. the customers that are buying private shares and everything, this immediately hits their top and bottom lines.
Yeah, and also and assets under custody, right? I mean, if you got some Europeans that are like, screw IBKR, I'm coming to Hood, they bring over a couple $1 million, right? Like if you got some of the more wealthier Europeans that are just like wanting a better experience. I mean, just on the crypto side, not even because they can't really do the ACAT transfer, but if they get that 2%, they got rid of the 500 million now. That should be a major catalyst for Q3 for net deposits as well, since today's the last day of Q2. You're just getting a lot bigger customer base across the world. We're not even in Asia yet. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see. Given you're more familiar with staking than me, when you said that's very high, 75%, you're saying that Robinhood's giving them a really good rate, or Robinhood's taking too much?
Robinhood's giving them a decent rate. Obviously, taking 25% is still very high. Like if you just think about that, like to take a quarter of someone's earnings. The people who stake a lot and want to make a lot of money on their crypto will do it on their own wallet. Okay. But Robinhood will let you do that in the Robinhood wallet today. So you can have that ability. But for someone who doesn't want to get into the technicalities, who just wants to earn a reward on the money that's already sitting in their account in Robinhood crypto, 75% is decent. There's a lot of brokerages that do 60-40 and they'll take a 40% cut. 75-25 is not crazy. That's a nice, it's not as Robinhood-esque. I would have expected Robinhood to do something like a 90-10. That would be very Robinhood, but
it's better than the competition, is what you're saying.
Yeah, to most competition. Yeah, there's other companies doing 75-25, but yeah.
Got it. That makes sense.
But and then at the end of the event, they just wrapped it up with, oh, and by the way, we just got clearance for USDG. And so we're going to be rolling out all these stablecoin products here in the next, who knows, maybe they're going to announce another Robinhood crypto event. Like we're acting like the events are over. This is going to happen every year,
3 times a year, every year, you're going to have gold, crypto, and active traders. And I think the market's just realizing, all right, this is not stopping. This is not stopping. Thank you to PLTR, who gave me a $200 super chat. I think we're going to have to buy our first. He said, congrats, 2 Hood shares. I will be buying 2 Hood shares right now for that super chat. So thank you for that super chat. It means the world. Here's my first buys in the 90s. My last buy was at 83. I bought 500 shares. Here you go. You'll see it fill on Legend. There you go. 2 shares of Robinhood in the 90s. Tanner, do you think now that Robinhood is giving enough perception to the market that they are diversified? I mean, because if the market tanks, we know transaction volumes tank. Do you think this is enough for the street to be like, all right, even if the market tanks, we can still give them a higher premium?
I don't know. That's a little different. Like companies like Coinbase and Robinhood run whenever the markets are bullish, and they will run so fast and so hard. But let's not forget that, Coinbase went from $300 a share down to 30 whenever things looked like we were in a crypto winter.
That is fair.
So, I'm very excited that Robinhood, and I'm a very big believer. Me and you were texting last night. I'm like, man, I should have been buying through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Like this was a mistake. This is a generational company. But like there will be times to buy this company on the cheap as well. Might not be cheaper than today. I mean, we might end up going down all the way up to 200 and then pulling back to 90, and then that's your buying range. Like,
well, so this was the thing. This is the thing that happened with Palantir. Palantir, you the last time to get it cheap was during tariffs when it fell to 60. But outside of that, when it went on its run, it has not so far given back really any of the gains. I wonder, now Palantir is a SaaS company that, there's a lot of different components. It's not as cyclical. Robinhood is very cyclical, even though they're trying to diversify. So you're absolutely correct. There could be a bit of a bearish market, and then, their numbers just don't look good and the stock falls off. But if they can diversify enough, like just enough in the next 18 months until you get that bear market, if it ever does come, then I think that is what potentially could keep them higher and not have a Coinbase type of a drop in 2023.
Before I let you go, brother, and we'll talk later tonight, but thank you for getting me on this company. I didn't buy it as early as you, but I didn't miss the boat either. What a freaking wild ride this has been. And I don't see why it has any reason to stop for the next 5 to 10 years as it overtakes, the larger brokerages in terms of market cap. And those customers are going to realize, and I just want to say thank you, but I'm not selling my shares. This is absolutely freaking phenomenal. Super excited.
Well, I need to thank you for hopping on the ride because when you came on at 17, it gave me someone to really analyze this with more deeply, right? We have a whole podcast together, you, me, and Roy. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about tonight, but this would not be as fun if you don't do it with friends. You know, with Palantir, I got to go on the journey with a nice big community and, you know, lifelong friendships. And with Robinhood, I think that's creating the same between us. So it's really cool. It's fun analyzing this every week. And I'm sure we'll be at many more events in the future analyzing it. But, you know, in this game, it's about, can you find the outlier and can you ride that outlier to the glory? And we've been able to do that together. So super, super cool, man.
Isn't that so funny? This company's running up to 90. I feel zero pressure to sell.
Zero
pressure.
Zero.
I'm not like, there's no shakes. I'll go to bed easy tonight.
Because if it does want to go back to 50 and 40 and the market wants to give me a chance again, be my guest. I'm not in this for tomorrow, right? You're not in this for tomorrow. We're both in this for like the next 10, 20 years. So
yeah, 100%. All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
All right, Tanner. Love it. Talk later.
Peace.
Folks, what a freaking day. Oh my goodness. 91.72. Did we crack? Yeah, we did crack 92. 92.18. It's pretty incredible, dude. It's pretty freaking incredible. 91.74. I mean, if it closes above 90, it's the market's getting ready to say, all right, it's here. And I think 100 is on the trajectory. If we end up fading off and we close at like 87, 88, that's how you know people took some profits. But this does not look like it wants to slow down. And again, there's plenty of macro things we've got coming up over the next 6 months. You just never know how it plays out. But based on what we saw today, again, Arnie literally posting that he's buying Hood on Hood in Italy, something he hasn't been able to do forever. It's happening. It's really, really happening here, dude. And I agree with Tanner, dude. Does anyone have pressure to sell? Does anyone are you thinking of selling? Because if you are, I mean, like back to 92, like, sure. I mean, like take your profits. It is what it is, right? This is the beauty of investing here. But I really feel zero. Like when I mean zero, I mean zero. I mean, let me check some covered call premiums because let's see how ridiculous the call premiums. Oh, these got to be crazy. Okay, if I go to July 3rd, dude, $100 is paying you 75 cents. They're up 744% today. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I'm going to sell any calls because this thing is running. But like, dude, this is it's incredible. I feel zero pressure to sell. Like, if it wants to give it to me lower, give it to what's the dip? 70? If he wants to go back to 70, all right. Like, the street's caught on, bro. The cat's out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag. This thing was $8 2 years ago, 2.5 years. Not even 2.5 years, December 2023. So basically 18 months ago. And, now it's 90. And I think the street has recognized this is a generational company. It really does remind me of Palantir. I know Palantir is a totally different business, but you got the founder, you've got constant innovation, and then you've got the street that's recognizing a story that they didn't understand. That's what happened with Palantir. And like, it's happening with Robinhood. And S&P inclusion would be the cherry on top. I mean, that would solidify that Wall Street has recognized that this is a company that simply can't be ignored. Millions and millions of shares will have to be bought if it's in that $95 to $100 range by the end of September. And you are going to have a bid every 2 weeks from passive ETFs that will constantly be buying a piece of Hood because it's part of the S&P. And it's just incredible to see that. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, Palantir was also 7. That's another reason they're similar. Palantir was 7, Robinhood was 7. Both of them actually hit 6, quite frankly. So just generational companies. Absolutely generational companies. Where's Coin? Is Coin down on this? We haven't looked at Coin. Coinbase. Yeah, Coinbase flat. I mean, look, Coinbase is going to be a great company as well. I just think I agree with Chris. When they expand to these new European countries and then eventually to Asian countries, African countries, they are going to be bringing brokerage and crypto. Now, Coinbase wants to get into brokerage as well, like tokenized stocks. The question is just going to be how much better are they going to execute than Robinhood when it comes to offering this stuff. And Coinbase, quite frankly, the fees have been horrendous. The reason people trade on Robinhood, the reason why I bought my crypto on Robinhood is because the Coinbase fees are ridiculous. If Coinbase can't do commission-free trading, or they can't give that type of user experience, people are just going to pick what's better. And with Robinhood offering 2% to leave your Coinbase account and come to Robinhood, that already is like, I'm sure they're going to be doing this every year because they have the unit economics to facilitate it, where people that are on Schwab, Coinbase, whatever it may be, whether it's brokerage or crypto, might say, hey, I want that free 2% and I want to leave. The fact that they were probably always going to do the 2% without the $500 million match because they knew they could do it. They just said $500 million to get people, to put in more money, which makes sense. But the fact that they always knew, hey, we don't need $500 million to give people 2%. We can just do it is amazing to me. And I think that's why, we're seeing this momentum right here. Uncle Jesse, thank you for the $10 super chat. Are you still streaming 3 hours? Yup, we are streaming. We are live. This was a big event today that we had to cover. And, I'm happy we got to cover it. And thank you. Thank you for the super chat as well. This is just amazing. Ben said, bought in the 1320 range, DCA'd more the whole way up. Yeah, again, the one thing I'm proud of myself as an investor is I didn't make the same mistake that I made on Palantir, which I had a big Palantir position. I should have had no problem adding to that position when the thing that I thought was going to happen finally started happening last year, which is the market recognized it and it was going vertical. It's just, as a investor that's been doing this for 5 years, sometimes you don't know when that's going to happen. And this is the whole thing. Like the people that were in Tesla that experienced the 20x, a lot of them came to Palantir because they saw something special. I've talked to many of them. And when Palantir basically 20x from 6 to 120, it was kind of like another walk in the park for them. They kind of knew that these generational companies would have their moment. I didn't have that experience with Tesla, so Palantir was that first 20x to experience, and I should have been adding more into that strength. And with Robinhood, I said, you know what? I think this one has the potential to be the same, and just have not been afraid to add. So could this thing fall back to 70? Of course, right? Like Palantir could also fall, but the question is not, will it fall back? The question is are they on a trajectory where this is not a meme stock type of run? Like if you're buying a meme stock today, you're buying it with the hopes of getting out before someone else buys your shares. With Palantir and Robinhood, it's not about a meme stock. It's about how do I get more exposure to a generational company? And as a retail investor, quite frankly, sometimes that means you have to make some hard choices between diversifying or solidifying. And this year for me has been a big decision to just say, hey, let's add more. Let's believe in this thesis. And Vlad continues to execute, which is why it's worked out so well. Vlad will be on CNBC in 30 minutes. Okay, so we probably won't watch that here. We'll watch on the close, but we'll get to hear him talk about what he says on CNBC. What's the next one? This is one that I don't have an answer for. Neither does Arnie. Eventually, when we get those answers, we will tell you guys. But I don't know if there's a next one, dude. It's just hard to find companies like this, bro. Both of these companies have already 10x from their lows. Both led by amazing founders. You could kind of see, could Robinhood become a $1 trillion company after today? Absolutely, bro. Like I've always hesitated to say maybe Robinhood tapers out at 500, 600 billion. Like, no, dude, if they're opening up the guardrails for the entire world of crypto, why can't they go to $1 trillion? Why can't they keep growing? Especially if they're going to keep, like, AIP is just the first iteration of what I think Palantir's growth trajectory is going to look like. We had Chad come on talk about MMDP, and that's going to be a big deal. There's going to be a lot of different products I think they're coming out. They had Warp Speed, FedStart. Just today they partnered with Accenture. Like every year, I think we're going to see minimum of 5 different innovations or products or verticals that Palantir and Hood are expanding into. And they have the TAM to actually address that market. And they have the retail user base that is so excited to follow these companies' journeys that it just creates a real strong incentive for people to see, what the value is in these names. Okay, so look, I'm bullish. I'm not buying $120 calls on Robinhood. I'm not buying any calls. As Chris said, if I held my spreads, I would be up more. But at some point, I needed to de-risk. Like this market's been very volatile, and I just did not want to hold options that deep. So I would not buy a $120 call. Do I think it get to 120 by December? Yeah, I think it could. Based on the announcement today, S&P, I think it could. But am I going to buy a $120 call 5 months out? No, I'm just not going to do that. I'd rather buy the stock. So if you want to, you can definitely take the bet there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of bullish option flow coming in over the next coming weeks as traders bet that it goes higher. I just personally would rather buy the stock right here. Again, I think the time to really double down on the options was around 50 to 60 and then 70 to 80. You know, you could take that risk. Obviously, it's worked out so far. But to ask for 120, I think it's possible. It's a lot more risk now going into the end of the year. I de-risked last week with buying a very small amount in puts expiring end of year. Yeah, that's fine. Covered calls. Look, if someone has, I don't think you should be too worried if you have covered calls right now. If you have them at 92 or 95 or 90 or at 100 or even at 85, I would roll up and out. I would try to go 3-4 months out. That's okay. Try to get to like 110, 115 and, get out of the way if this thing is definitely ready to run. And if it doesn't run, you're not going to make as much income, but at least you're going to keep your shares. You'll eventually, make the income from those covered calls when they expire and you keep it going from there. But if this thing's ready to go on its run to a different dimension, and it's already up a lot this year. So the fact that we're saying that just means there's a lot of growth that potentially could be factored in. That's when you kind of get out of the way. But again, that's why I asked that question to Tanner, the last question to him is like, do you think even if we get, like, again, August, September sucks for Robinhood. Go through their brokerage statements, go through their 10Qs, go through their presentations over the past couple of years. August and September absolutely suck for Hood. It's just inevitable. People don't trade as much. They don't deposit that much. It's not the best. I don't know if August and September this year are going to be different. Historically, it's probably going to be the same, which means you could easily see, again, as much as the street's excited right now, if Robinhood has bad transaction volumes in August and September, they're probably going to be better year over year, but they might not be the best quarter over quarter. The street might say, all right, we're going to sell it right now. This is how the street operates. So this is really one where I think you have to have a long-term mentality. And I know that's cliche to say, but you really do. Because, Palantir fell to 107 last time on earnings. That were good. 39% growth is pretty damn good, but it just wasn't enough for the street at that moment. So that could happen to Hood, but it also could be diversified enough potentially to give the street a reason to keep buying it in the face of numbers that might be bad for a quarter. And in a previous world, Hood would get punished for that, incredibly badly, but that might not happen this time, just given the street can look to other metrics. And so that's, I think, the thing to think about in terms of the stock itself. Where's SoFi right here? SoFi, 1858. All right, so we could not get above 19, 1892. Grab still holding on to 5. If we can close above 5, that would be great. Apple right here, 200. Bitcoin, 107. Palantir up 6% on the day. Not bad. I did buy 50 more shares at 134 on Friday after hours. Most of the dip seemed to come from the technical rebalance. Not anything fundamental. Rocket Lab right here, 36.39. That's about 2.8%. Archer's up 4%. Nubank's up 4% as well. Not doing too bad. Lockheed Martin, 461. And then Tessie, 320. That one is still a little red on the day. BMNR, so Tom Lee's thingy, 450%. That's basically where it was when we left off for the event. So hasn't really changed since then. But still up 450%. Josh says if the margins double on the core revenue drivers via blockchain, then they can survive a trade dip easily. Yeah, exactly. That's if the operating leverage increases on their highest margin product, which is crypto, and then they can expand that to other elements of the business. They already have 37% operating margins. That number gets anywhere near 50. They can handle top line revenue growth slowing down because so much of that comes to the bottom line, and that will still keep EPS growth pretty efficient, which is what matters. Do you think Andrew will be able to buy on tokenized stocks? Yeah. I mean, look, the fact that this OpenAI SpaceX thing was a really cool thing, because to me, that's basically them saying, hey, they probably had connections at SpaceX and OpenAI to get this done. And they thought it would be really cool to introduce, two of the hottest private companies on the blockchain. They're going to do this with Stripe, with Anduril, with Discord, like all the new IPOs. Figure, maybe you'll be able to buy on the blockchain. I mean, unfortunately, the United States has these accredited investor laws, and I don't know how easily they're going to be able to bring that to the United States. But across the world, where those laws aren't as aggressive, Europeans should be able to access it. And then eventually, hopefully, they'll bring it to the United States. But it's a way for startups to raise money. It's a way for retail to gain access to, the fact that you can buy meme coins, but you can't buy SpaceX is insanity. I don't care how accredited of an investor the US government thinks you need to be. The fact that they let you buy the Trump meme coin, which is down a lot, versus SpaceX, which we know there's a risk to investing in SpaceX, but it's freaking SpaceX. One could objectively say, hey, maybe that's a better investment than some of these meme coins. To say you have to have $1 million net worth and make $250,000 a year to access that is insanity. It makes no sense. And so eventually, I think we will see that change. And as a result, that's another market for Robinhood in regards to privatized assets that they'll be able to do. It's only a giveaway right now. So I believe they gave away OpenAI and SpaceX tokens, but eventually, I don't know when exactly you're going to be able to buy them. So Arnie got €5 worth of SpaceX and then €5 worth of OpenAI. And so that I think the reason they're giving it out to Europeans is because now they're saying, hey, we just gave you some OpenAI and SpaceX, but if you want to spend on 200 other stocks you can trade, here you go. And then if you press explore all stock tokens, which Arnie did, and then he started buying some Hood tokens, I mean, immediately you get access. That's what the notification looks like. Congratulations, your application was approved. You can now trade on Robinhood. Oh, that's from Patrick. That's not Arnie. That's Patrick. Shout out to Patrick. Patrick, OG watcher of the channel. So he just posted that right there. So that's his home screen. So now he can trade. He's in Germany, I believe. And again, Arnie posted this video of being able to buy right there. It's pretty amazing, man. Pretty amazing. Pretty incredible. All right, folks, that is it for today. It's a big event. We'll talk more about it on the close, and we'll go deeper. We'll get Vlad's interview from 1 p.m. when he does it in about 30 minutes, and we'll see what he has to say. But this was a big event for Robinhood. It's been an incredible journey. Again, incredibly blessed to be on this journey. We did it with Pounter. We're doing it with Hood, and it's just, I'm happy that Tanner, Roy, all these people, Arnie, they're along the ride, and it's all of us. It's more fun when you're all together. It's really more fun when you're all together. I know a lot of people. Stock's up $9 today. A lot of people, you have 1,000 shares, you're up $9,000. You have 500 shares, you're up $4,500. You have 10,000 shares, you're up $90,000. Like Vlad is up 500 million because he has 50 million shares. So he's doing well today. I mean, this is just the beauty of the equity markets. You can trust in a founder, believe that they'll execute, and then as a journey, we can crowdsource the due diligence to see if this can really be an amazing investment that can change our lives. So there you go. All right, that is it for me. Word of the day. What do we got? Okay, word of the day is mugwump. Mugwump. A person who is unable to make up his or her mind on an issue. I'm a mugwump when it comes to desert menus. Don't make me pick just one. The committee stalled again thanks to yet another mugwump on the city board. Well, we know the street is not being a mugwump when it comes to buying up Robinhood, because they are buying it hand over fist, up 10.75% on the day. However, that is a word I'm not going to forget. Mugwump. I think that's actually a word of the day I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to forget that one. Mugwump. My wife is such a... Yeah, I'm not going to forget that one. That's going to be... Did I say desert menu? Did I actually say desert menu on the sentence? Did I actually say desert? Really? Hold on. I don't believe you guys. Yo, how do every day there is something in this freaking word of the day, whether it's the word or the definition or something that I mess up on? No, I got to hear this again. Did I actually freaking say that, bro? Goodness gracious. Is her mind? You guys are going to think I'm trolling, bro, but I'm not. On an issue. I'm a mugwump when it comes to desert menus. Don't make... Oh, my God. Oh, my... What is wrong with me? What is wrong with dude? One of my friends had a theory. And on an issue. I'm a mugwump when it comes to desert menus. Don't make me pick. One of my friends had a theory. One of my friends said, Amit, I think your mind is moving faster than the words that are able to come out of your mouth. And so when you speak, there's just a little bit of a hiccup sometimes, maybe a little bit more than sometimes, while you're speaking, and it results in the misreading of words or the saying of words in an incorrect way. Now, granted, I like that theory because that absolves me of all the guilt of not being able to speak English, quite frankly. But this is just incredible, dude. Desert menu, huh? This is like... I obviously know what a dessert menu is. Like, I know dessert. Like, it's not like I don't know that word, but whatever. It is what it is. Robinhood, 91.85 on the day. You got NVIDIA right here, 157. Tesla right here, 321. Palantir up 6% on the day. S&P 500, 616.7. SoFi, 1859. Googs, 177. And then Robinhood, almost 92, 91.76, up 10.52% on the day, currently, right now. That's it for me, folks. Thank you all for being here. I will be back on the market close. We'll keep going from there. Love you all. It's been an incredible journey. And the journey, quite frankly, does feel like it's just beginning. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys on the market close. Bye, everyone.